Loading. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of the Buster Call series, where we expose everything One Piece related. Shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you, everybody that's here watching today. This is going to be a really fun episode because this is the first time I'm having like multiple guests on. Usually it's just the one-on-one conversations. But today we have the one and only Joe Three Skull Theories and King Recon.
Hello.
I'm Joe.
He's Joe. All right, so if you guys want to introduce yourselves in case people somehow don't know you guys.
Go ahead, Joe, bro. Do your thing.
Okay. I'm Joe. I'm from the UK. 27 years old. I've been a One Piece fan for about 14 years now. Started off when the manga was around Marineford area. Been going ever since. Recently, about 3 years ago, started a Twitter page to create One Piece theories. Now I've got a second page going at the moment where I post theories still.
All right.
Love to see it. Yeah, that's definitely go check out his stuff. He produces some really awesome content over on Twitter. Stuff that I'll tell you, if one day translated over to the YouTube space, it'd be super goated. But yeah, I'm King Recon. Nothing but love to 3. Like I told him the other day in Dax stream, he's one of the individuals that gets brought up the most in my chat for really cool theories. So it's an honor to be here and looking forward to talking One Piece with y'all.
All right, there's gonna be so much to talk about just given like the past few chapters. How are you guys feeling when it comes to One Piece? Do you feel like this is prime time? Is this like the best era of One Piece to you guys?
Yeah. Overall, I mean, the 1042 to 1045 stretch is still really special to me. Same thing with a lot of memories throughout the course of following the series weekly and covering it here on YouTube for the past 10 years. It's there's a lot of memories, but besides that, Gear 5 stretch was just a personal thing for me, for stuff that I really enjoy. I think right now we're living in prime time since Oda came back from the month break and delivered 1054 to us. From there until now, it honestly has been like the most fun to be experiencing the series. Not just reading the series, but discussing it, being a part of the community discussions. It's been insane, and it feels like we're all in a single unified thought with this arc, where every single time a chapter drops, we're all collectively losing our minds because of how special it's been. And in particular, this most recent stretch coming off of Narrator Sama and Divine Departure, leading into the Gorosei name reveals and the Nerona Dynasty and stuff of that nature, Saint, Figureland, Recon. It's like all of that awesome stuff there, that entire stretch was some of the best stuff to not only experience within the series itself, but within our community, because I feel like our community is always at its best whenever the series is really hot, and it feels like Oda has just been firing on all cylinders to the point to where this might be the peak for now. And the reason why I say for now is because the real peak has yet to come, not only just for the series, but for our community as well. But for right now, this is definitely the best time to be a fan of the series.
But I've noticed as well, almost every arc since Punk Hazard has been a bit divisive. Where people say, oh, it's slow, or it's not very good. This is the first arc I've had the community experience with, where it all seems unified, everyone agrees this is fantastic. There's not really any kind of, oh, it's too slow, or I don't like this plot, what's going on here, what's the point of this? It's all very exciting, and almost everyone is agreed on that.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like every single chapter, like the past, I feel like since we approached Egghead, it's just been straight heat. Like every single chapter. Like I'm thinking, like, bro, this man Oda, he couldn't wait these 20 plus years to reach this part of the story. Yes. Like he has every little tiny minuscule detail mapped out.
Yep.
This arc especially has a special place for me because Vegapunk has been my favorite mystery for a very long time, and I've had lots of theories about Vegapunk, lots of agendas, and it's perfect to see it now on the screen. Although it's very much not what I expected. Typical Oda, managing to sweep the carpet from under our feet.
Right. Yeah. It's we were talking about Futurama off camera, and that's a cartoon / animated series that means a lot to me. And seeing Oda's Futurama arc is something that I hoped we would get one day. Right. This series, of course, its basis, its core is an adventure, but for us to be here in an arc that is based in a Futurama-esque setting, Epcot type of setting, that's just super, super cool, where that's not even like the main draw for me, where the content itself, we have a murder mystery plot, an Among Us type of plot. We have the insanity of characters questioning their ideologies here, and which side they're actually on, both in Egghead and outside of Egghead. And the callbacks to previous arcs is just, like 3 was saying earlier, it feels like Oda, during Wano, you could feel this too, where he was having the time of his life, finally getting to draw stuff he's been wanting to draw for so long. But here it's like that times 2, where this is the grand finale he's been building towards, and of course this is the beginning of that grand finale. So you can just feel the passion through every single page and chapter.
There's this particular track that I like to listen to that uses a ticking time bomb effect in the background, and that kind of soundtrack is perfect for this. The suspense of it is perfect for this kind of Egghead. Any chapter you watch or read, it's just perfect. That kind of tension. It all feels like it's counting down to this big climax at the end.
Right.
So, like, there's so much going on, obviously, between Emu, the conversation with Sabo and Dragon, Egghead, even maybe we'll see where Blackbeard's going next. When it comes to, like, all these ongoing plot lines, what is the one that you guys are really locked into the most? Like, what is, like, itching you? What do you want to see, like, heading back into 1087?
Yo, Joe, go ahead, because you already know where I'm going to go with this.
Personally, I'm most anticipating returning to the Kuma flashback, which is we kind of left on a cliffhanger with that. But I heavily suspect that the Kuma flashback is actually going to be a God Valley flashback in disguise.
Oh, I love that.
Go, baby.
I love that, bro. I love that. Keep going, bro. Please. It's music to my ears.
If we consider Kuma's age, Kuma is 47 years old. How he looks about 9 years old in the flashback from what we've seen so far.
Right.
And God Valley was 38 years ago. If we do the mathematics, that's the perfect time frame for God Valley to have happened. I think we're leading up to the first bits we've seen in that flashback. I think we're a few days or maybe a week or so before God Valley began, before Rocks arrived and they had the big battle. And that we're going to see some of the things that have been mentioned before through Kaido, Big Mom, and Garp. We're going to see those from Kuma's perspective as one of the slaves that were being protected.
Absolutely. And like we've talked about before, Joe, you and I, in regards to like the God Valley flashback, and it feels like right now Oda's setting up that context, right? Like with 1086, we saw a figure.
Uh-oh. Did I lag out?
I think that's King.
Oh. We got to remember where you left at, or where he left off at. He said Garling, right?
That's right. We're on the Garling connection.
Things way better whenever we go back into the God Valley flashback, which, like you said, is going to be connected to the Kuma flashback.
Yo, Recon,
I love that idea.
I hate to butt in, but you did cut out. I think it was like towards the very beginning when you just mentioned Garling.
Uh-huh.
Like you just cut out completely.
Bro, I don't know what it is with, because I thought I'd be able to fix it here in doing it the way I'm doing, but it looks like it just might be an error for me. It might be my internet.
Hey,
honestly.
Don't even stress it, man. I have problems every single time I stream too, so don't sweat it, bro.
No, I appreciate you. So I cut out with whenever I was talking about Garling.
Yeah. I think it was like towards the very beginning.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like the fact that we're getting that context now for all of the stuff that potentially could be shown in the God Valley flashback, with stuff like Garling being connected to God Valley, and the Mother Frame, which is also in that chapter. It feels like Oda's setting up all of this context for what's to come. which is why we were shown all of this before we go back to Egghead. So I most certainly agree with Joe. Because the thing with the God Valley flashback is it could take place extremely soon, as in like in the next 10 chapters, or there's something that could be saved for the end of the series. But I do believe this is the type of incident that, because of the Egghead incident, because we've already been introduced to the idea of an Egghead incident incoming, we need something to compare it to. And so we, of course, know of the God Valley flashback, but we don't know what happened. And I think it'd be really cool if we get the God Valley flashback, have that context, and then we can compare the Egghead incident to it in regards to the overall importance to the grand scheme of One Piece, which is why I do also believe that is going to happen here very, very soon.
On that, I've got a very cool suggestion for you about how the God Valley flashback will be presented. So, technically speaking, we've already got one or two, maybe perhaps you say 3 fragments of the God Valley flashback through Kaido, Big Mom, and Garp, or Sengoku, narrating a story about Garp. I think Kuma is going to be an additional one, but in total there will be 9 fragments of the God Valley flashback, and it would correlate to there being 9 fragments of the real poneglyphs. There are 9 real poneglyphs. You combine the 9 together, and it creates the true history.
That's really cool.
Okay.
So we're going to get Kuma next, but then Garp is going to follow soon afterwards.
All right,
Let's get it.
This is a question to you two, obviously, and the entire chat. This is a yes or no kind of question. Will we get the God Valley flashback within the next 20 chapters from now?
I'm going to say yes. I'm putting my chips on the table. Let's
Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm sure. I'm certain of it. I think by 1100, Oda wants to be sort of coming out of the Kuma flashback and introducing what Dragon's going to be up to.
Yeah. And it would land into the thing I'm most excited about whenever we get back, which is a potential meeting between Garcia, Saturn, and Luffy. Which is the thing I've been looking forward to the most ever since 1073 dropped. And now with this context of 1086, I am so pumped for that potential meeting, because there's going to be so much writing on it, right? If Garcia Saturn reacts to Luffy in any type of way, that'll give us so many hints to the Gorosei. Whether like he transforms into Nika, and we see the Garcia Saturn react like, oh, so this is what you really look like, or oh, so you look exactly the way you did 800 years ago, stuff of that nature. Like it will lead so much into the Void Century content, which I can't wait for. Obviously, it's going to be super hype. Obviously, there's going to be a clash between the two, but because I see that happening, I also see the God Valley flashback coming in to potentially give us even more importance to all those events that are going to be taking place. And like Joe said, the obvious connection to how Dragon's going to be moving, Cross Skill's going to be moving, stuff of that nature. So a lot of exciting stuff incoming.
100% agree. You took the words out of my mouth there.
So Emu, are you guys are you guys aware of how they refer to Emu as, I think it was Go rather than Say?
I think so.
Do you guys fall under, or which side do you guys fall under? Are we thinking Emu's a man, or is Emu a woman, or like non-binary?
I think Oda has quite an androgynous design in mind, but I think Emu is a king. The Emu of the house or dynasty of Nerona is, you've seen the theories that popped up on Twitter that this is based on Emperor Nero of Rome. I think that's quite a good correlation there.
Oh, you use to Say, not Go. My bad.
I honestly think that Emu's more than likely going to be a male, but more probably, I mean, this is based on like the Punk Hazard personality switch stuff. But one of the ideas presented in my chat when that chapter dropped in 84 was the fact that Emu could potentially be inside of Lily's body, which is what we're seeing here. And I think that would be very interesting, because it would go into a little bit of both there. A person who is a man that has been living inside of a woman's body for 800 years. I think that'd be an interesting little twist for that. But I'm excited for any of them because there's also the possibility that Emu is a collection of individuals in one, which would mean obviously there's going to be both men and women a part of that as well. But right now, it really looks like this is a child, like an immortal child, just based on the way that that it's been presented to us so far. So I think of like Joffrey from Game of Thrones whenever I think of Emu's like voice or something around those lines. So I'm interested. I'm very interested, but for right now, I'm going to lean more towards the male side, just like Joe was talking about, mainly due to the king stuff. But this is Oda we're talking about. we never know. We never know.
It's interesting you bring up the possibility of Lily being alive. Are you familiar with the crocodile panel?
Which one?
Lily? So if you go to chapter 127, we get Crocodile's introduction, and it's when he speaks to Sanji, and Sanji first calls himself Mr. Prince. Crocodile is holding a lily flower, and he says, "Still alive, you say? Didn't you just tell me the mission was accomplished?" And then he kills the lily flower.
Oh, that's really cool. No, I did not see that.
This
That
is
awesome.
an encyclopedia. Did you know in chapter 127, page 4? Yo, I love it. I respect it,
That's why
bro.
we love him, bro.
Somebody, or it was Mr. Bushido with the $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Bushido. He said Big Mom's flame hair looks like Nika. Does that give you guys any kind of idea about something?
It's interesting because both the flame hair for Big Mom and like the Sulong form, it's like a combination of the two, of like Big Mom's crazy hair and of the Sulong state. That's interesting.
I think there's a connection there. I think it all ties into the lineage factors concept, because we've got 3 examples of when characters seem to turn white and their eyes go red. We've got Luffy in Gear 5th. We've got the Sulong of the Minks, and we've got Hody when he overdoses on the energy steroids.
Yeah.
All of these things are to do with the lineage factors, particular DNA structures, and I think that there's some kind of if we look back at when lineage factors was sort of first explained back at Whole Cake Island by Yonji, it sort of tells us this is a step toward godhood, that it's possible to some extent to completely design, like if you know how to do it, if you know how to control this stuff, you can do whatever you want. You are a god. You can create people of this kind, of that kind, etc. And I think all of these things have a central correlation relating to the lineage factors that we'll learn very soon.
I like that. That's true.
All right, we got another super from Mr. Bushido. It's along the same lines of kind of like what you guys were saying. Thank you, of course, Mr. Bushido. He said, I think there might be 3 emus: child, adult, and elderly.
That's interesting.
So maybe like it could be the case, or like maybe the body, like the appearance is child, and then maybe, I don't know, the shadow is the adult, and then maybe the mind and personality is elderly. Like, I'm not entirely sure how he would split it, but what do you guys think?
Here's an interesting possibility. There is one emu, but we will see 3 different iterations of that one emu. We will see the child iteration, we'll see in the adult, and we'll see the elderly. And this will be through the powers of Bonnie. So if we remember, they captured Bonnie once, twice, maybe even 3 times since the supposed Sorbet Kingdom incident, when Kuma fell from power. He used to be the king of Sorbet Kingdom. He was somehow captured alongside Ivankov. The both of them were imprisoned at the same time. Around the same time, Ivankov was in Impel Down, Kuma was at Punk Hazard or Egghead, and I think that's when that's going to be tied up.
I apologize. My thing cut out. I had to switch to LTE. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay, yeah. Like that was really weird. But if you could repeat the question.
Mr. Bushido was thinking that there could be 3 different emus: child, adult, and elderly.
So I didn't. I apologize, Joe. Excuse me. I wasn't able to hear your response to this, but I think what's very interesting is if that idea is true, and they're all in the same body. It could be once again another potential biblical reference with like 3 individuals in one. That Oda could be building here with Emu, which I think would be really, really interesting to explore, considering all of the references already, right, to Rome and Christianity and Catholicism and stuff of that nature. I think that'd be really interesting, especially if they're all a part of like one single body. I think there's a lot of really cool ideas there to explore there, if that is true.
And if we look at the, I'm not sure which chapter it was, I'll have to double check. But when Lucci and CP0 are arriving to Egghead Island and they're about to infiltrate the island because Vegapunk won't allow them to dock, they mention that Bonnie has been witnessed on the island as well. And Lucci says she served her purpose, let's just take her out. So if we connect that to the idea that Emu is a child, potentially, then that's the purpose that they use Bonnie's powers for, is to reset the age of Emu so Emu can continue to live.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
I appreciate you going down that road, because the next super chat is going to kind of connect to that. It was from Andika. Thank you so much. They said about Bonnie having the Toki Toki no Mi. It may explain why Bonnie didn't know Egghead's latest tech, while Stussy knew better, even though she's much older. Recon, I think I explained that theory to you last stream, but I don't know if Joe's on point with the theory.
No, yeah, explain it.
I think I'm familiar with that one. But again, do break it down.
So when you look at devil fruits in One Piece, a lot of times they fall in pairs. You'll have like the snow fruit, the ice fruit, the fire, the magma, etc. I feel like the Toki Toki no Mi might fall under that kind of pattern, where there's 2 fruits, you know, together that, you know, are kind of synonymous, pretty similar. And I think those 2 fruits in the pair would be the ripe no Mi and the Toki Toki no Mi. And I feel like when we see Toki jump forwards into the future, that's not a display of like, you know, regular power of a devil fruit. I feel like it's display of an awakening. And if you look at everything Bonnie has done, that to me strikes me as like, you know, base powers of a devil fruit, just based off my instinct. So, I would argue that, you know, being that Bonnie can affect people's age and affect the age of objects and stuff, that falls under the idea of time, which is very, very similar to Toki. It would also explain what happened to Toki's fruit, so it kind of like ties the knot there. You also have the scene where Toki sent Kinemon and others into the future, and they popped out of the air, and it looked the exact same way as when Bonnie popped out of like the warm eddy. It goes a bit deeper than that, because you also have like Kuma's devil fruit being tied in with space, so it'd be really poetic of Bonnie. His daughter had a devil fruit affiliated with time, more specifically the Toki Toki no Mi, but that's like the TLDR.
No, I definitely agree with the concept that
really cool idea.
Bonnie's fruit and was it Shinobu's and Bonnie's fruit belong to the same grouping as Toki's fruit does. I'm not sure if they're the same fruit, but certainly they could be from the same kind of type.
Mr. Bushido with another 5. Thank you so much, bro. He said the Dukes made Carrot queen, not to make her queen. Wait, no, the Dukes made Carrot queen, not to make her queen really, but to pass a letter on from the Mink King of Joy Boy's era, like Lily passing on a letter to her brother. I know this man Bushido, he will die on the carrot for Nakama. Like, I respect the dedication. At this point, I just respect the dedication. What do you guys think about her?
First and foremost, before Joe goes, I just want to give nothing but love and respect to Mr. Bushido, because I've been on 3 streams this week, and on every single one, Mr. Bushido has been pushing the carrot agenda. So much love to the dedication in that regard. That is awesome. But go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, so on the subject of Carrot's character, we see, I think, a lot of people think that Carrot hasn't earned the position of like being the new Queen of Zou, and I think there is a lot left to be said for Carrot's character and for her to earn that place. So we had that with Momo right at the start of Punk Hazard, But this is supposed, like we learn later, that he's the Shogun of Wano, or the heir to the Shogun of Wano. But he's just a wimpy kid. He can't possibly fit in that position. How does he get there? Now we've got Wano, we get adult Momo. He's still a coward to some extent, but he has risen to that position, and we feel that he's worthy of it already. So I think with Carrot, we have to have that central role for her to come back to, and if that all relates to, so with Zanisha, we have the whole connection to Pluton and breaking down those walls of Wano so that Pluton can be released. So I think the idea that there is a letter from the what's it called, the Momojuke Kingdom, is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Close enough.
So I think with that, if there almost certainly is some kind of letter or message, to some extent, that perhaps probably is the poneglyph that's in the whale tree, because the poneglyphs themselves, they are a way to preserve those same messages that were written originally on paper and letters.
So I'm really, and by the way, I agree 100%. The thing that I'm very, very interested in, especially in regards to that potential possibility, is why wait for Karen, right? Like, why wouldn't this be passed down to either Inarashi or Nekomamushi, if for like a letter to be passed down through the generations, or potentially maybe for like the dawn, the incoming of the dawn, maybe Inarashi and Nekomamushi did have this letter, and they just wanted Carrot to be able to be the one, now with a connection to the Straw Hats, to be able to take whatever was said in that letter. And because I'm going to assume if that letter does exist, then of course the original individual who helped out with the cause was Lily, right? Helping out the Kozuki clan. We talked about the possibility last stream about Lily having like the pawpaw fruit to be able to help out the Kozuki clan by sending the poneglyphs to several different locations. And I'm interested on if Neko and Inu read that letter, with their connection to the Kozuki clan. That was sort of like an affirmation of destiny for them, of like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to be supporting Lord Odin and the Kozukis on this entire thing, right? Especially once they made it over to Zoe. But in regards to Carrot, that would be my explanation, would be that they knew and they were just holding on to this letter, waiting for the dawn to come, or the approaching dawn, to be able to hand this letter off to someone whom could carry on that torch. So that I would honestly like that idea if it were to be handled correctly.
It would make for an interesting gag, quite a funny gag, if we learned that Neko and Inu did have this letter, but because of their feud, they tore it in half. Each of them has a half of the letter, and then when Carrot gets two halves of a letter and has to tape it together.
I like that. I really, I and it makes sense, right? Because, like you said, Neko and Inu have been dealing with not wanting to be anything, do anything with each other for a very long time, and so if they both have these two halves of a letter, it'd be hilarious.
That's fire. Awesome. Mr. Bushido with the 5 said, I think Bonnie has the Goro Goro fruit. Yes, that's Enel's fruit, but it has another meaning. In this context, Goro means manipulating time back and forwards.
Ah, interesting. So it'll just be like a play on words type of thing. Okay.
Like a pun?
Yeah, and we know Oda loves his puns. I could see that.
I'm not sure if it could be Enel's fruit. But the name, certainly the wordplay works. The NL's fruit, we haven't really seen anything about time as such. Although you could say you can associate light and time. I think that's a slight stretch. But certainly there's some credibility in the wordplay that Oda certainly is using that in some way. It's almost impossible that he's not going to make something of that.
Yeah, man, Carrot's such an interesting person, because I feel like Oda could create a timeline where she does grab a devil fruit. Being that she's not a Straw Hat, I feel like that actually helps, because like it's just purely subjective and like instinctual, I guess. But I feel like it's really rocky, you know, the concept of a Straw Hat getting a fruit at this stage in the game. But if she's like leading, like assuming this is the case, if she's leading like a ship in the Grand Fleet, if she's like in charge of the Minks or one of the people, you know, higher up in that, I could see Oda giving her a devil fruit.
I think there's an interesting possibility, and people used to think this fruit would go to Vivi, but I think if you remember Monet's fruit, the Snow Logia, one of her attacks was the Snow Bunny attack, and we saw when they left Punk Hazard that there were these bunny shapes in the waves following the ship, and it's been a theory ever since then that this fruit respawned in Nami's tangerine garden on the ship. But there's a possibility as well that it respawned whilst they're on Zoe, and there's actually a panel, I'm not sure which chapter it's in, but they're talking about the wildlife, the plant life on Zoe, and how it thrives on the back of an elephant through the rainwater that comes from the elephant's trunk, and that you can actually get like plants that obviously wouldn't survive with seawater are able to survive through this what's aqueduct filtration system that they have built in ancient times. And this aqueduct filtration system has the same design from the top down, from bird's eye view. Looks exactly like the layout of Alabasta and Water 7.
Huh.
So it's possible that the Snow Bunny fruit or the Snow Logia fruit has respawned on Zoe, and Carrot will eat that fruit, becoming the I think there's even a yokai that's revolving around the idea of a snow lady or a snow bunny kind of demon. I think that's the best fruit that Carrot might get.
This might be
I've never heard that.
This might be a stretch, but maybe the big snow bunnies from what you call it, Drum Island, maybe that is some kind of hint. Maybe there's something there, but
well, you're tying things back into bears as well, because that ties into them. They're like bunny bears or something they're called.
Yeah,
I forgot what they were. What were they exactly? Were they?
They were called the Lopins.
That's right.
Yeah.
So they don't fall under like bunnies, huh? Or do they?
They're kind of like more like bear bunny things.
Bear bunnies, yeah.
Certainly, it's important to look back at Drum Island again nowadays. There's lots of hidden gems in there.
For sure.
You know what? I want to focus on that real quick. Why did Blackbeard go to Drum Island?
I think. Sorry, King, you go on.
Oh, no, my bad. I was just gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was because he was going after Ace. So like, whenever Ace passed by, because there is a line in Drum Island that's like, it was really hot that day, like compared to how it is normally. So like, Ace passed by there, and Blackbeard, while attempting to go after Ace, found, or no, I think it's the other way around, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Ace was attempting to find Blackbeard, and then Blackbeard must have gone there for, man, that's a good question, because at that point in time in the story, you know, Blackbeard's like the biggest question mark, where you don't really know his motivations, you don't know what he's attempting to do, but I mean, I imagine there's something there that we know how important Drum Island is in the grand scheme of things. I just, off the top of my head, I honestly don't know, because now that I think about it, it really is the reverse. Yeah, it was Ace going after Blackbeard. It wasn't that Blackbeard was going after Ace in that particular part of the story. Yeah, what do you think, Joe?
I'm curious to hear Joe's take.
There is an interesting. I'm trying to find the theory that was posted, but there's an interesting theory that Blackbeard was actually originally from Drum Island, and this ties together the conversation between Luffy and Sanji, where they took Luffy mentions that people from Snowy Islands, they never sleep, because if they sleep they'll die.
That's right.
Yep. And we get the bit with Shanks and Blackbeard and Buggy in the Odin flashback, where Buggy's telling Shanks about how Blackbeard never sleeps. So there is potentially a connection there where Blackbeard is actually from Drum Island, that's his home island. But I don't think that quite tracks, because obviously they would know who he is. They wouldn't speak of him as this like sort of invading pirate if he was from there. But so I think those two at least, those two lines connect. and they do give us a big clue about what's behind Blackbeard's powers.
Now
I love that.
I'm gonna go off on a limb, and my take is that he probably wanted Chopper's fruit. Now, I know you would have to bring into question, how would he know about Chopper's fruit? How did he catch wind of that? I can't even answer that or explain it, to be honest. I would just look at it like Blackbeard's always finding out these secrets, and he's always having like this internal knowledge. So I wouldn't be surprised if Oda, created a reason down the line to explain that. But the reason that I feel like it's probably the case is because if you remember, during Fishman Island, they were talking about how Blackbeard's main goal is to go from island to island grabbing devil fruits. And Oda went explicitly out of his way, and I'm assuming because he knew the reader would question it, he went out of his way and had Chopper say, "Oh, is that why he was going to Drum Island? Did he want my fruit?" And Usopp has that offhand comment. He's like, "Why would he want your fruit?" And to me, that reeks of like, no, Usopp, you're probably wrong. He probably did want the fruit. Like, it just gives me that kind of instinct. It's just, unfortunately, I can't explain how Blackbeard would know about the fruit and all that.
There is also the connection of Usopp saying in that scene, "Why would anybody want a human fruit?" But of course, now we know that some of the human fruits are mythical god fruits, so everybody would want one of those. So if it turns out that Chopper has some kind of another one of the iterations of the mythical human fruits, then that certainly would fit with Blackbeard's motive of get these most powerful fruits that are out there.
Do you guys believe Chopper's fruit is special? Does Chopper have a god fruit? Or maybe he doesn't even have to be a god per se, but do you think there's like some secret going on?
You know what it might be, bro? He might have been searching for Luffy's and was trying to find like which version of the human fruit it is, right? So he's
that's crazy.
One of them has to be it, right? He's like, one of these has to be the Nika fruit. I'm gonna have to keep searching until I find it.
What? Yeah. I never looked at it like that.
That's a very cool idea. I think certainly there is something very special about Chopper's fruit. It is supposedly a fruit that enables the eater to cure all diseases. So when Dr. Hiroluke and Chopper are in the town, they hear Dalton and some civilians talking about this rumored mushroom that can cure anything. And then Chopper goes off to try and find it because Hiroluke is sick. And Chopper finds an aramaki mushroom, a poisonous mushroom. But because of the symbol on the book, the skull and crossbones symbol with the sakura blossoms, Chopper thinks means it will cure him. But of course it means it's poisonous. The tragic irony of that whole sequence is that Chopper himself had already eaten that cure-all mushroom. That is his devil fruit.
That's like poetic.
It's tragic irony of Chopper's story. I think with his fruit, I think that also fits with the idea of, in order to awaken your devil fruit, your motivation and the will of the devil fruit has to be synchronized.
Right.
And if Chopper's motivation is to become the Doctor who can cure everything, and the will of his devil fruit, or the purpose of his devil fruit, is to cure everything, then that means that soon Chopper will achieve his awakening of that devil fruit, and that in doing so, he will gain powers to effectively be the natural counter to the powers of Doc Q.
Yep. Which is going to be a battle I'm very much looking forward to after 1064. Or what? Well, no, 1063. Both chapters.
That's right. I think it's going to be in the fight with Doc Q that Chopper will achieve this awakening.
All right, we'll keep pushing through these super chats for a little bit. We got 2 from Mr. Bushido. He said, "The more against my agenda, the bigger the W." I actually love that mindset.
Yeah, that's my favorite mindset to have, Mr. Bushido. That is awesome.
What are your guys' biggest agendas? Be real with me, man. Even if I disagree, and if it's a hot take, what is something you would put money on?
Well, most of my favorite agendas have recently been debunked. The agenda that I started making theories on is the agenda that Blackbeard is the son of Vegapunk.
I could see that.
This was back before I was making threads, so I was just making collages of images.
Right.
I think there's some possibility there that Vegapunk's real name is Marshall D. Vegapunk.
You know how crazy that'd be? That'd be wild.
There still seems there's lots of dots that connect Blackbeard and Vegapunk together. If they're not father and son, I'm quite certain they have some kind of relation.
Do you guys feel like a Kid and Vegapunk connection's kind of dead in the water?
I don't think so. I think. Sorry, King, you go ahead.
No, my bad. I was gonna say I don't think they're dead in the water, but he is. Go ahead. No. But nothing but love to Kid. Nothing but love to Kid. Nothing but love to Kid. But go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
You're gonna make the kid stands upset.
No. Yeah, trust me. I love me some Kid, but the man is in the mud. The man is in the mud right now. We're gonna go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I don't think the connection is dead in the water. In fact, I think if we consider the idea that each island they went to is in some kind of distance from Wano, then if Kid has been left adrift from his ship being broken, and they're on the driftwood of the broken ship, a sort of Titanic situation. Not sorry, too soon. Shouldn't have mentioned Titanic.
Oh shoot!
Hey,
Yo. This stream is we're always this wild, bro, so it's been worse. I'll put it that way.
It's quite likely that actually Egghead is where Kid is going to end up.
Oh, interesting.
Do you think that's before Luffy leaves?
I think it's before Luffy leaves, and he's going to end up involved in the fight, and there is an Iron Giant just sitting there waiting to become a mech for Kid.
Oh, dude,
that's
I
insane,
love that
man.
connection. I've been thinking about the Iron Giant this whole time. Like, what are we gonna do with this thing by the end of the arc? That is a great idea, dude. I like that.
Also, another possibility. So, Kid has lost his ship. Vegapunk has an Iron Giant, which also I would assume has functionality as some kind of ship you can set. You can jet around in it, and then Law lost a submarine. Vegapunk has a submarine.
Oh, damn. Yo, you always spot these little
He's
things
cooking.
and make like
He's
the
cooking,
coolest
maybe.
connections. What?
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah, that is really, really cool, dude. I like that.
Damn.
Kid will be the one who sort of directly drifts on the tides to Egghead. Like they're just on the driftwoods. But I think with Law getting involved, if Law does get involved, it will be in more of a roundabout way where he ends up, getting saved by Beppo, takes him to over here, and they meet up perhaps with Shanks, and then they're heading out with Shanks, basically to counter Blackbeard and everything else.
You know,
that is cool.
If I could give one request to Oda, being that Saturn is the warrior god of scientific defense, I just want to see Vegapunk before he loses or dies or whatever ends up happening to him. I want to see him hop in that robo suit. I want to see him use all this technology, all these weapons. I want to see him go all out with his technology, man. Like a whole scientific warfare on that island. I think that'd be so fun, man.
I do think after all is said and done, at the end of this arc, Vegapunk is the sort of final antagonist, the main problem that has to be solved.
Right.
And I can't see any way out of this for Vegapunk. He's marked for death, I think.
For sure. And going on to something that you and I have talked about before, Joe, in regards to Kid's role in the future and on Elbaf and stuff, I think you just unlocked that really cool possibility of, like 3 said, it would be nice to see Vegapunk utilize the Iron Giant, but it would be really, really cool to add on to that for Kid after this arc to be because we know how Luffy's going to match up against the Giants now with Gear 5. We've seen the way the Kid has done certain maneuvers against Big Mom, but getting in that suit or in the Iron Giant suit is literally going to put him at the same type of point of view as the Giants. So it'd be really, really cool to have Oda, which we know is a massive mech fan, You have Godzilla versus Gundam taking place on Elbaf with like the Iron Giant versus the actual giants. I think that'd be so much fun. And then we could have the really cool gags with Luffy and Law trying not to say Kid looks cool. They're like, oh no, like they're just looking. They're like, no, we can't admit this. We cannot admit this.
Yo, Kid's gonna finally take a W from the fans, man.
Yep.
It also potentially ties into the idea that the world government have been trying to recreate the ancient giants for however long, for centuries. And I'd still stick to the theory that by the time we do get around to Elbaf, the main involvement of the world government will be deploying these finally perfected ancient giants, and that we're going to have a sort of civil war between the giants. You've got Big Mum potentially being involved. You've got the giants that are under Loki. You've got perhaps a faction that's under Kids. You've got a faction that's under Shanks. You've got the ones that are loyal to Luffy, and you've got perhaps these ones from the world government, these sort of ultimate Mark IV pacifista, the ancient giant pacifistas.
Love it. I love all of that. As not only a fan of mechs, but just knowing what Oda could potentially do, and it feels like he's already setting this up. Like you said, ever since the time skip, that's been such a major emphasis. That feels like it's going to culminate at some point. So I most certainly agree with that take. That's going to be some fun stuff. On my end though, for agendas, I have to say there's one agenda that I've been pushing since the release of Chapter 1000. Because after Chapter 967, I was really excited to see how Luffy and his crew would potentially parallel what took place on Laugh Tale. And ever since 1000, when I saw Yamato say, "I'm not gonna laugh at Luffy," it made me think about how Luffy and them are gonna react to the like learning about the Void Century. And ever since then, I've had two separate agendas on that same topic. Number one, I honestly do believe the reason why Roger and them were laughing is because they couldn't comprehend what Joy Boy was saying. He sounded like a madman, where he was talking about, flying robots and crazy futuristic technology and TVs and holograms. Like, you would think anyone's insane when they're talking about stuff like this, but in actuality, it's just a really, really tragic tale that someone from this time period can't understand. They can't comprehend. And the reason why I think that Luffy and them are going to come to a different conclusion is because thanks to the events at Egghead and having Robin on the crew and all this futuristic technology obviously coming from the past, and that's something they all understand, they're going to be actually experiencing that flashback the way that not that it should be experienced, but with a different type of context, where they're not going to look at Joy Boy as a madman. They're going to understand, oh yeah, this is real. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they come out of that flashback not laughing. Obviously, that moment's supposed to be really special, so we want to have joy in the moment when we find the One Piece. We want to laugh, but I'm talking about the moment after, so when they find the One Piece, exciting moment, we're all super, super happy. But once we look at the history, what is their decision coming off of that? And that's something that I've been pushing heavily is, don't be surprised if Luffy does not come to the same answer that Roger did. And as a matter of fact, it would even connect to what Rayleigh told Robin back in Sabaody about them reaching a different conclusion. So that's been the one part of of at least for my agendas that I just can't wait for, because obviously I want the parallel with Roger, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is not a parallel where that is a completely unique experience that they're all going to come to. And maybe after listening to Luffy's dream in 1060, they're going to hear someone like Joy Boy and be like, oh, Luffy's more insane than this guy. Right, we're not gonna laugh at what he's saying, or it's gonna be more of a tragic thing where they all come out of it like they did in the Odin flashback, where they're all crying instead. Right, I have no idea, but my whole thing is just pushing the open to have an open mind heading into that Void Century flashback and how the Straw Hats react to it, because as much as I want them to have a parallel, and maybe they do have a parallel where they laugh out of respect, like they understand how tragic this was, but Joy Boy attempting to play it off or tell a funny story, in actuality it has like this really, really sad meaning in the background where they attempt to laugh and tears come down their faces. That's been my whole agenda ever since that chapter dropped, is to go into when Luffy and them find the One Piece with an open mind as to what their reactions are going to be, especially after what Yamato said.
I've got two interesting things for you there on that, King.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of support this concept. If you go back to, I think, chapters 272, when Robin first finds the ancient city of Chandora, and then 301, when she finds the message from Roger carved by Oden.
Yo, this man just pulls out the chapter numbers.
For the heart of truth, there is no need for words.
Right.
This implies that when you learn the truth, the words aren't necessary, and there are certain ways you can react without speaking. You can laugh,
100%,
and you can cry. So I think there's the laughing and the crying. There's the comedy, tragedy. Then, if you look at the concept of Dante's Divine Comedy, Dante's Divine Comedy is called a comedy as a point of irony. It's actually quite a tragic story, but it's yet called a comedy. So if you follow the idea of the story of Dante, he travels through Earth, he travels through heaven, he travels through hell, and he travels through purgatory. Luffy has travelled to heaven, Skypiea. Luffy has travelled to hell, Impel Down. We don't have any kind of purgatory yet, but maybe that's what we're getting to with Mary Joa, or even Laugh Tale itself. Luffy had the idea that this sort of Dante's Divine Comedy story is being laid out before us. Almost tracks quite perfectly with the journey of Roger and the journey of Luffy.
I love that. I love that because, like you said, the references to Dante's Divine Comedy have been very prevalent throughout the course of the story. And what better than for the flashback he's been waiting to draw the most, be the one that draws the most inspiration from that, based on the reactions, going into sort of meta commentary on what, comedy and drama and a tragic comedy would look like, right? And because we all know, especially after Egghead, that this was a very, very tragic scene that took place in the Void Century. So that's why Roger laughing to me is just so weird. It's something I can't wait to see. Like when we get to the Void Century and see that the way in which it is presented, because it really does feel like an extremely tragic story, the likes in which someone should react to it the same way they would to the Odin flashback. But like you said, that's the wonderful thing about these tragic comedies, is that some people will react to it in one way and the other individual will react to another way based on their experience. So very, very, very much looking forward to that when we get to it.
All right. I really, really loved all those thoughts, and we could go on all day, but we're going to keep pushing through the supers. Thanks again. You guys are just spitting super heavy. And of course, Joe pulling out the exact chapter numbers just out of thin air. We could probably go look, and he's probably 100% right on the numbers and everything. I respect that so much, bro.
It comes with the territory of writing theories.
We got Ronnie with the 2 months. Like and share the fuck out of this motherfucker, y'all. All goats here. Thank you so much, Ronnie.
Shout out, Ronnie.
Hello, Ronnie.
And then Mr. Bushido, another super, just going crazy every stream, man. Thank you, Bushido. He said Usopp might have eaten a fruit as he was drowning when the shark pulled them in the water. Oda zoomed in on him specifically, even showed his point of view. I think I know what he's talking about. It was during Egghead, right?
There are a few scenes where Usopp seems only half able to swim. I'm not sure if it's because he has a devil fruit. We haven't really had any kind of other indication of that, where he sort of, he accidentally uses a power of some kind. But it's always been he's just human. Perhaps the slingshot somehow tied, and the slingshot, it seems to be alive at times. It's got a monster mouth at the top on occasions. there's a very popular theory that his slingshot will have a devil fruit, and if he's holding the slingshot, then that affects his swimming ability.
Interesting. So when he's not holding the slingshot, he can swim. When he is holding it, he can't swim, and that's how we'll know. Okay, that's cool. That's actually really nice attention to detail if that's the case.
I
So-
think that's the best explanation for it, if it is true.
Damn. So do you guys feel like well, let me reword this as like I have it in the poll. Will Usopp get a devil fruit? Yes, he eats it. Yes, he puts it on his weapons, or no? What do you guys, if you had to put your chips on the table?
I'll tell you this. I put my chips on the original one of these, which is back when Dressrosa first started. We were all thinking, where is Ace's fruit going? And that was one of my favorite conversations to have in the community because there was so many awesome theories for it. Obviously, the Sabo thing came up. We didn't know he was going to come up in the arc, but a lot of people were like, okay, Sabo's a potential scenario if he's still alive. Some characters that were within the arc itself, but within the crew, there was a lot of really cool ideas. Like I remember I really liked the Zoro sword idea back in the day. I loved there was one other one, I think it was for Frankie. I'm trying to remember what it was, but regardless, my favorite of them all was the Usopp one. Was that Usopp's slingshot would eat the flame fruit, Ace's fruit, and I always thought that was such a really, really cool way of potentially having the like a massive power up for Usopp, and of course later on in the arc we would have the Observation Hockey moment. But now that we've come from that, at least for me personally, I don't think he's going to get another fruit. Just because I feel like from here on out, it would be really, really nice for Usopp at least to be one of the characters that remains hockey only, considering what his character is about. His character being so focused on bravery, being a warrior of the sea, especially coming off of the Shanks chapters where we get to see how that's represented through these characters that have no fruits. I think it'd be really cool if Usopp stays that same exact way where he has no devil fruit, but every single time he levels up, we see that through his hockey, because obviously hockey is showcasing your willpower, how far your will is going in synchronization with your abilities. And I want that to be Usopp's main thing. Not that he's necessarily, not that he wouldn't have that with a fruit, but it would just be exemplified further if he's getting all these wins in this arc, in Elbaf, in the final saga, where he's not relying on a fruit but on his own will, which is his biggest problem. At the end of the day, when he's fighting against Von Augur, the biggest thing is going to be overcoming himself. So once he overcomes himself and his hockey blooms the same way it did in Dressrosa, same thing, whatever's going to happen in Elbaf, that to me is going to be the key Usopp moments, which is why I personally don't see him getting a Devil Fruit ability. But if he does get one, then I would like it to be an ability that sort of like hypes himself up. Like it's like one of those, like back in the day, the Flame Fruit or whatever he would get now, where he would look at it and be like, yeah, I'm super dope now that I have this fruit, but then he immediately gets brought back down to reality because he doesn't know how to use it. And I think it'd be really cool for Usopp to learn how to use a brand new ability this late in the game that would also force his hand in regards to his hockey and his willpower. But for right now, I'm going to stick with no ability for Usopp, and it's going to be straight hockey from here on out.
I definitely agree that I much prefer that Usopp focuses on haki, especially observation haki. I'm not so sure. Like, obviously, we have there's actually two implications now of Usopp getting Conqueror's haki as well. And if there's a place for that, that's almost certainly Elbaf. And then when he's going to fight Van Augur, that's probably going to be maybe after Elbaf. But there's Van Augur has the warping power, and we actually have perhaps some clue as to how Usopp will defeat Van Augur and the warp ability. And it doesn't really need a Devil Fruit to do that. So when Vegapunk is first introduced, his design is shown when he's coming out of the Iron Giant, he's warping out, and he gets stuck. He says time and space got distorted whilst I was warping. So if Usopp, by the time he fights Van Augur, he simply has the ability of future sight. He can predict where Van Augur is going to walk to, and he can put something in the way in the space Van Augur is going to be at, he can shoot something over there, and then Van Alga sort of gets stuck because there's something in the place where he was going to be. That's the way to defeat Van Alga's walking around ability.
Right.
All right.
My favorite idea
Oh, sorry.
favorite idea for Devil Fruit, if Usopp were to get one, would be the Kabuto Devil Fruit.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's awesome.
Very popular theory from way back when that Usopp would get at least his slingshot would get the Kabuto Devil Fruit.
I'm here for it. Isn't his weapon? Isn't it a Kabuto?
That's right. It's called Kabuto.
Oh, are you talking about like the Pokemon?
It's actually I think. Well, I'm not sure if Kabuto is the actual name of the creature, but it's a sort of a beetle bug thing.
Oh, I see. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I like that on his weapon.
It would be very cool.
I think that'd be really awesome, honestly.
I do agree, mostly on the premise of I think it's better if Usopp doesn't have a Devil Fruit.
We got another super chat from L with the 2. Thank you. He said Chopper, the Forest God. We kind of talked about like the whole God stuff earlier. Was there anything you guys wanted to add to that?
I'm not sure about the whole God thing. That's one of the theories that I like the premise of, the idea that there are multiple God figures in the world. I think that's mostly tied into the mythical zone concept, and that we have already 2. Well, the Buddha is, by some definition, a god, but by other definitions, not a god, but deity, or even just a human that became enlightened. But then you've got, of course, Nika, who is a fictional god, but ties from the concept of the sun. I think it would be difficult for Oda to work in that concept this late without devaluing the significance of Luffy being the sun god.
I can understand that point of view.
It's like the reason why I can see it, something happening to Chopper in particular, is because of the comedic trio, right? Imagine this entire time these guys have been, or at least Usopp and Chopper, have been just so afraid of so many different things. And at the end of the series, those are the 2 that, besides Luffy, are referred to as gods in the verse. I think that would be such an Oda thing to play on in regards to a comedic gag. As far as the significance to the story, obviously, I'll have no idea how that's going to play out. But just knowing how Oda does prioritize and love his gags, it would be really cool to have both Usopp and Chopper sharing that type of title. But I just don't know how it would play narratively later on, because like Joe said, it might take away from the whole the focus on Luffy being Nika and stuff of that nature. So we would have to see how it's executed. But I'm not opposed to the idea, just because it would be so much fun to have Usopp and Chopper trolling at the end of the series, calling themselves gods and stuff.
There is a very interesting possibility with Chopper's fruit. If we look at the parallels that he shares with Big Mom and the Punk Hazard children, the theme of candy revolving around all 3 of those characters, or the Punk Hazard kids, Big Mom and Chopper, all sort of a candy association, and all of them, when they turn into their giant forms, at least originally, they lose control of their mind. So there is a potential possibility that Chopper has the mythical Hito Hito no Mi giant fruit, and there is actually a god that we already know the name of that's associated with the giants, Elbaf. Elbaf is actually the name of the god of the giants, and the island is named after that god. We learned this back in Little Garden. So potentially, if Chopper does have one of the god fruits, it's the mythical human fruit, Elbaf.
That's interesting. I never made that connection. I love that.
Me neither. Really cool. I would have never thought about that. They actually said that? What?
It's when Dory and Broggy are explaining Elbaf to Luffy, Vivi, and Usopp. I think it's Dory mentions that the pride of Elbaf, the concept of the pride of Elbaf, that sort of the Valhalla concept, the Viking warrior pride of the giants, comes from this original figure that was called Elbath, who's now considered to be their god.
I don't know how that slipped right by me. I'm not gonna lie. Wow. That opens up that opens the floodgates to like a lot of new ideas now for me at least.
Little Garden, especially. I've been going back to particular arcs, like to do my theory stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Surprising amount of stuff ties back into Little Garden. I'm very surprised, but with the whole thing I mentioned about crocodile earlier and having the lily flower, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that if now with sort of with the ability of hindsight, that we can look back at these things and we suddenly realize, wait a minute, this connects to that.
For sure.
This is relevant now. This little panel that we didn't care about, now it's monumental.
Right. And that's been one of my favorite things about the weekly One Piece experience is going back to those panels, especially now because like we've talked about before, Joe, Alabasta and Jaya carry so many endgame concepts that looking back on it now, any of those chapters, it's like, man, how in the world did this guy have this in 2000, 2001? So now you're telling me about Little Garden, which was published around 1999. It's like, my goodness, dog. How many of these things were you thinking of back then? It just makes me even more excited for Oda because he's finally going to be able to explore many of these things that maybe he originally thought of when he was like 25 years old, which is such a cool thing. That's one of my favorite things about One Piece.
One of my favorite things about sort of how the hell did Oda plan this so long ago is that now we have the 5 Gorosei being named after the 5 planets, or 5 of the planets, and we have the 3 ancient weapons being another 5 of the planets, 3 of the planets, sorry, and we have the planet Earth, or Verth as it's called in One Piece world, and then we have the moon. So now we've got the 9 planets. Of course, in the real world these days, since 2006, I think it is, Pluto's not been considered a planet anymore. So the fact that Oda has Pluton works into this concept and that he's mapped out these 9 planets being represented in the One Piece story means that he came up with this concept before 2006.
100%.
That's crazy. That's dedication right there. I'm gonna throw this next question at you guys, and I'm gonna run to the bathroom because I gotta pee too bad. All right, Mr. Bushido with the 2 again. Thank you so much, my man. He said God Valley is the Garden of Eden.
Yo, Joe, this is your alley. Talk to me. Talk to me.
God Valley is related, I think, to the concept of the Garden of Eden. So God Valley, it's in the name, the Valley of Gods. This is where you walk through this place and you become a god. In essence, is the idea, I think. But I think the concept of the Garden of Eden is actually tied to the Chamber of Flowers in Marijoa, and that this ties to the concept introduced to us in Skypiea, or the Verth, which is what the Skypieans call soil that they have on Skypiea and Chandora. And it's because of this rich soil that they worship that land as the Holy Land. The name Holy Land and God's Land both come up in Skypiea. In fact, Skypiea is named God's Land, and NL's goal is to create a new God's Land on the moon.
Right.
And this idea of going to the moon ties us to if we go to NL's cover story, chapters in particular 470 and 472, when NL discovers the origins of the wing races that came from the moon, from the city of Burka, came from the moon seeking natural resources. They settled on a blue planet. So all of these wing races worship soil because it's able to provide them with natural resources. This is true of the Shandorians and the Skypieans so far. Now we also have the Lunarians. If we look at King's tattoo, King has a tattoo of what seems to be a flower blossom. And this ties into the idea that the Lunarians originally came from Marijoa, but they were defeated or killed or genocided, or maybe they ran away. We don't quite know yet. But it leads into the possibility that the Chamber of Flowers that seems to be the Phantom Room or the Lost Chamber that's recently been referenced in recent chapters. But this was originally created by the Lunarians, and it is their Garden of Eden.
Right.
And that also ties into the concept of Lily, because you've got Lily based on Lilith in some Hebrew texts. So the Bible only mentions Lilith once. It's in the book of Genesis, Old Testament. And from then on, Lilith is omitted, because then you get the idea of Adam and Eve. And it's believed
Right.
in modern Christianity, it's believed that the story of Lilith is not true. It's blasphemy, because it contradicts the story of Adam and Eve. But
That's really interesting. I like that.
the original idea is that Lilith was the first husband of Adam, and some of the texts, if you go, it goes back to ancient Babylonia. That some of the texts suggest that Lilith was banished from the Garden of Eden for disobeying Adam. Other texts suggest that Lilith didn't get evicted from the Garden of Eden, but she just left on her own accord, because she was not willing to obey Adam.
Dude, that is so cool. I had been thinking about that potential connection, but I didn't think about it in that way, because that's going to add so much weight to that boy century stuff, which we obviously know is going to have. I mean, come on, Devil Fruit, Garden of Eden. We know Oda's going to have his own play on a lot of creation stories, and that's going to be a lot of the Void Century there. But that in particular was something I never thought of. That's really eye opening. That's really, really cool. I didn't think about it in that way.
That also, probably not a coincidence, if you go back to a recent chapter where Ivankov is telling Sabo about the possibility that Emu has the immortality. Look at the name of the book. The book is called Genesis.
Yes.
The book of Genesis, and then you look at Kuma. He carries a book called the Bible.
Yep.
So these two, but where did these two books come from? Well, we just learned recently that Dragon and Vegapunk were visiting O'Hara after the destruction of O'Hara.
Oh, true.
All of the books were put into the lake, and Vegapunk arrives late, and he meets Dragon, and Dragon says, "Oh, I've already spoken to the giants. They know the value of these books." So I think Dragon, either they were a gift from Professor Clover originally, or Dragon picked out those books in particular from that collection that was in O'Hara.
Dude, that is so cool. Like, you're absolutely right when I think about it in that way for where they got the books from. Because obviously, it does feel like these are not only important to the revolutionaries, but specifically the individuals that we've seen have these books are connected in some way, shape, or form to O'Hara. So them originating from there, at the very least, that's where they got them from, which obviously means they're very ancient text that is quote unquote forbidden, right? Oh, I love that, man. I think that's super, super cool.
I think certainly these are books that Professor Clover himself transcribed from the ancient text. This is the bulk of his research. As we learned that he was traveling the world and creating all sorts of discoveries and creating all sorts of research and translating the ancient text. I think the book that Ivankov has and the book that Kuma has are from O'Hara, are from Professor Clover.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got Tiante in the chat. He said, couldn't these books be from Kuma's lineage? And he did mention that in the past few of my streams. But I just have to be honest, I adore the idea of them coming from O'Hara. And Joe, you know this very well. A lot of people, or like maybe certain specific people that you know, were throwing around the idea, like before it was revealed, that they threw the books in O'Hara or in the water, and that they would be recovered and all that. Do you know the specific people that were posting that?
Actually, I had a theory, I think last year, that it was called Aokiji's future role, the lost library of O'Hara. And I think I was sharing some ideas with you too, that was included in that theory.
Yes, I do remember that.
Included the idea that Blackbeard is an orphan of O'Hara, and that his parents were part of the research crew led by Robin's father, was captured. They died, and this would be why when we first see young Blackbeard, he's wearing the same kind of hat as Nico Olivia, Robin's mother, was wearing, but it's damaged. this lends itself to the idea that that is his father's hat or his mother's hat, and it's damaged because they were attacked. They were in a battle of some kind where his parents died.
Let me tell you something, man.
This ties back to the idea of the books and the research where this all comes from Ahara.
Yo, let me tell you something, man. I wholeheartedly believe that when it comes to the character of Blackbeard, Oda knows that fans are going to be looking super deep into him.
Yes.
They're going to be looking at the SBSs, his first appearance, the way he words things. So
Yep.
I definitely love that take. And obviously I've mentioned it in videos. You got your shout outs and all that good stuff. I really like the concept of him having that same hat. It's all beat up and stitched up. To me, that feels like something intentional. Like he purposely did that. It wasn't just like, oh, let me just give him a hat, make it look exactly like Robin's or Olvia's for no reason. Like that seems hard to believe.
Yeah, and look at where he put it. He put it in the Odin flashback, which is something that so much love and care was put into from stuff that was established previously in the series. So it's like most certainly he was expecting people with Blackbeard's first introduction in the Odin flashback. That's going to be something that everybody's going to be looking at. So 100%, I love that.
Also, the timeline. We don't quite have confirmation of the exact correlations, but from what Olivia says and the person she's speaking to says about the mention of her husband, Robin's father, who we have only ever seen one silhouette of, that supposedly was some years before Olivia went out on her research expedition. They had been for at least a decade already been doing this. So that potentially ties down to the timeline of Blackbeard first joining Whitebeard, him being orphaned, would potentially line up exactly with the expedition of Robin's father, and potentially Blackbeard's parents were part of Robin's father's crew.
Yeah, the timeline's very close.
I quite like that idea. I think most importantly, though, it tells us. So the theory originally that I wrote was that Aokiji's future role would revolve around these books. That he would be the one to effectively learn about this lost library of Ohara, and that he would find it. And that leads us to the idea that now that we know Soul is alive and he's at Elbaf, what happens when Blackbeard learns this? He goes to Elbaf and he targets Soul. He tries to get the information that Soul's protecting, which is the research of Ohara. And if we think back to what that included, the research of Ohara includes the ancient weapon that Vegapunk has now supposedly recreated, and the name of the ancient kingdom.
Oof. That's a good point.
It's a lot of heat right there.
If Blackbeard is to try and target that information in the future, that I think is the motivation for Aokiji to then betray him.
Yes, because then he would be forced once again he already talked about it in 1081. This is the one event in my life that like I regret the most, that I have the most guilt for. And so being presented with that scenario once more, he would be placed in a dilemma of I could keep this facade up right now, or I can finally make the decision that I've been building towards the entire series. I think that's a really, really cool idea.
It ties in as well, even down to the idea that there is a library contained in a giant tree. In Ohara, it's called the Tree of Knowledge, and we don't know the name of the tree. Supposedly, we think it's based on Yggdrasil from Norse mythology.
Yeah.
Elbaf also has a giant tree. This is most likely where Soul is hiding, inside the giant tree, and they've now rebuilt the Library of Ohara inside the Elbaf tree, which perhaps is called, if we go by Tree of Knowledge, perhaps it's Twin. We call it Twin, Tree of Understanding.
Knowledge and understanding. I like it.
That's kind of fire.
I like it. Yeah.
We got Prez with the 2. He said Blackbeard knows all. Marshal him, D Teach.
Hey, yes, sir. Shout out to my guy Blackbeard.
Just unstoppable. I think it's people forget that people think Blackbeard is reckless. Like that's very true, but people think he's also stupid.
Nah.
That's a big mistake.
He knows
He's
when to
very
pick.
calculated.
He knows when to pick his battles. Sometimes it's not worth fighting someone just for the sake of fighting them.
Right.
It's mentioned in an SBS that when Oda revealed the hobbies of the Worst Generation, Blackbeard's hobby is to research history and archaeology.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
True that. And you know, whenever you're in that position, you're researching history. You know, you're trying to recognize patterns. You're trying to recognize what other people have done in the past, so you can avoid those same mistakes. So Blackbeard, as the ultimate opportunist, will look at patterns in history and be like, I can do that. I can do that in my own way, or I can avoid that.
That's such a great way of looking at it.
This all lends itself to the idea that perhaps Blackbeard's potential association with O'Hara, and tying in the idea that the books that Kuma and Ivankov have, and perhaps Dragon has one as well, are all from Professor Clover's personal research, and that they were taken from O'Hara. Perhaps if Blackbeard knows things like the Lunarians, how does he know this? Or perhaps he has a particular book in his possession, and this book is from O'Hara.
And of course, and that's where the connection potentially to his family. That's really cool. Yeah, that's because that would explain it a lot, right? Like, we look at this guy who, like you said, having a connection not only to potentially know what the Lunarians are, but where did he even get the Devil Fruit encyclopedia from? What about if it was inherited through lineage, right? Like, this is you don't just come across. I mean, obviously the encyclopedia has been brought up multiple times throughout the story, but it looked like the one that Blackbeard has is a little more updated than the ones that other people have. So I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, that thing's not gonna fall out of the sky.
Right.
Interesting thing about the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. So far, the only people who have had possession of this book have either a connection to the world government directly, or a connection to Vegapunk directly.
Do you think there's multiple different versions of them, Joe? Where like the WG has one that of course omits like the Nika Nikanomi, stuff of that nature, and then there's another one maybe that O'Hara has, or some historian created from the One Piece verse that has like more fruits that the government doesn't want people to know, such as like the mythical fruits, stuff of that nature.
I think if we tie it back to the idea of Oda referencing the Roman Catholic religion, if you go through the history of Catholicism, of course you have the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament perhaps is the original encyclopedia. Perhaps there's a Genesis book, and then there is the New Testament, which is the world government edition, having filtered out all the stuff that's inconvenient to them. And okay, here's all these devil fruits we don't really mind people having. You know, like the jacket devil fruit.
Right.
Who has that? Just as long as these god fruits are in our possession and nobody knows about them, that's not an issue. Nothing else is an issue for us.
I like that. Yeah, that's actually a really good explanation, because then the other one would come from around the time when these things started being found, right? Like 100 or 1,000 to 800 years ago, where these fruits first started becoming a thing after the dreams and desires started manifesting. Then they started writing them out as they saw them. Potentially Blackbeard has one of those, which I think is such a cool idea, especially in comparison to, like you said, having one that has that information filled out or filtered out here, because then it would turn into like an apocrypha type of situation, which we obviously know is not only something that's taken place in reality, where some books were clearly omitted out of there, but then it would also play into the way the WG works about handling their business, that they don't want certain things being known. Like, for sure, 100%, nothing under their control is going to have the Nika Nikanomi. I would even dare say some of that stuff's not even going to have like Kaido's fruit. Like the really, really big ones, they're like, nah, we're good. We don't want people knowing about this stuff.
With the mythical fruits, very, very interesting potential detail. There's not quite confirmation of this yet, but
So proud of you from
Kaido got his mythical devil fruit from Big Mom. Yamato got their devil fruit from Kaido.
Mhm.
Marco supposedly, potentially got his from Whitebeard.
Yep.
Then Devon got hers from Blackbeard. Sengoku got his from the world government. Luffy got his from Shanks. There is some kind of connection. Almost every mythical devil fruit tying it back to God Valley.
Oh, yes.
I love
that.
that so much, man.
Man, and that could connect to the Garden of Eden stuff we were talking about earlier.
Yup.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's why when I
really
hear
cool.
the whole Garden of Eden thing, that feels like the icing on the cake. It's like the cherry on top. Because exactly like what Joe said, you could string almost all of them back to God Valley. And we know that Zebek, he formed the Rocks Pirates because he wanted to make one big score. That is pretty vague, but I suppose you could make an argument that that one big score was the Garden of Eden, or maybe even the Nika fruit. I'd imagine if maybe not the Nika fruit because they were chasing it, but it's the same difference with the whole mythical zones being connected as well as the Garden of Eden. I really like that.
I think it's both that and the fact that it wasn't called the One Piece at the time, right? Like Roger was the first one that found it, so maybe Rocks attempting to find whatever it is that this big treasure that was lying around. He was like, okay, then my best bet to find that would be in a place like this. So maybe while attempting to find the One Piece, he was like, maybe I could find. Well, of course, it wasn't called the One Piece, but while trying to find what that treasure was that he potentially could have heard and or seen, because we know he was researching through taboo subjects and stuff of that nature. Something about all that voice entry stuff must have piqued his interest. Where he's like, okay, where is this thing at? Obviously, no one found Laugh Tale until Roger. So Rocks on the way to finding that was like, okay, let's go to the Garden of Eden, because obviously that's the origin of fruits. That's the origin of all these things. So it's I like how Rocks might potentially represent a pirate who was going after the One Piece but didn't know that it was that, because he was like all of that stuff, all of his research, all of that taboo matter that he must have dabbled into, it led him to building potentially the greatest crew in the history of piracy, all because he felt like he needed that to accomplish his mission. Not only that, but he probably had a little bit of Roger and Luffy in him, where he just found them to be interesting. Because like we talked about before, 3 on Rocks actually being a good dude. It genuinely feels like he was trying to, make them all successful, take them all out of the scenarios they were in, because the 3 of them, Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido, were all in very, very bad situations before Rocks came in and took them out of there. So it's a piece of the two, but I love the idea of Rocks going after what is now known as the One Piece, and that's how he arrived at God Valley, thinking that could potentially be there.
Real quick, I'm gonna have to disagree. You said that the Rocks Pirates were one of the best. I don't know, man. I feel like the fake Straw Hats kind of topped them.
Oh, you're right, dude.
Have you seen Drip? Fake Sanji?
I forgot about DeMarco Black, dude.
DeMarco Black.
That guy's the one. He's the one, bro.
Fake Chopper.
Yep. No, that crew was special. That crew was really special. That's the Golden State Warriors from 2016 right there.
2016 Warriors. That's crazy. We got 11 months from DJ. Amazing, man. This dude's 1 month away from a year being a member. He said one more for a year total. DJ, thank you so much, man. I can't wait till you hit that 1 year. And Mr. Bushido with a membership. I'm pretty sure he was already a member. I don't know why YouTube will, if someone gets a membership, sometimes it'll say that they joined the memberships when this dude's been a member for multiple months. But
it's the same thing happens on my end, dude, where I'm like, wait, what?
It's so weird.
What's going on?
They're trying to discredit this man. It's probably the carrot agenda.
It's probably what it is, dude. It's probably what it is. But hey, like Bushido said, the more they try to hate on his agenda, the stronger he'll become. So.
Yes, sir.
One of the things with agendas is that I think sometimes it detracts away from just thinking of what's reasonable, right? It has to. Some people think it has to be either really far this way, really far that way, and we forget what's in the middle of the story. Where actually the story for Carrot, for her to have a major role, is actually quite straightforward, and that we already have all the pieces with Poseidon and Pluton, Wano, Fishman Island, and the central role of Zunisha in that, where Carrot, and already being friends with Momo, I don't think she has any association with Shirahoshi yet. But these things are already sort of in place, and we can see how they fit together.
Going off of that, Joe, if I could ask a question real quick, it's in regards to a similar topic. How soon do the two of you think we're about to be exposed to the potential of the ancient weapons here in the final saga?
You mean like all three?
Or at the very least, like the first one, because obviously in 1086 we heard of the Mother Frame. We already know Poseidon and Pluton Silguano. Like, how soon do you think we'll see the potential explored through one of them?
I think Uranus might be relatively soon. Big shout out to Tax Sake. One of his recent videos was about Uranus and Vegapunk, basically kind of like recreating it in a sense. I really like the arguments he presented, and if that is true, then it would make sense to see that ancient weapon now, given we're on Egghead. Vegapunk was said to have made it, etc.
For sure,
I agree.
Yep.
I agree as well. I think the end of Egghead, the aftermath of Egghead, is going to be the Great Cleansing, because with Egghead, we're set up at the moment, being set up to have at least 2 or 3 major reveals at the end of Egghead.
Yes,
the existence of Emu being exposed to the world.
Yep.
Potentially the Will of D, or at least Lily's letter, being read out to the world by Vivi, and if Vegapunk has been continuing O'Hara's research, that means the name of the ancient kingdom will be exposed.
Yes,
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it gives you goosebumps, dude.
It gives me goosebumps. I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that just gives me goosebumps, man. Oh my gosh.
All 3 of these things will be revealed at once at the end of Egghead, I believe.
That's gonna be that might be the greatest chapter in One Piece history up until that point.
Dude, I'm gonna lose my mind, man. I've been waiting so damn. I don't even care what it is anymore. I just need to hear what it is, man.
The biggest mistake, Vegapunk's biggest mistake in doing the research into the Void Century is not realizing what caused the Void Century in the first place was this information that he's now learned or learning.
That's a good point.
What caused destruction that led to the Void Century, and now we've got. What did the Gorosei say when Emu was first introduced? It's time for a great cleansing.
Yeah,
we are going to see. Once the end of Egghead comes, the big incident is going to be 1. Emu's existence is revealed. 2. Lily's letter is read to the world by Vivi. 3. The name of the ancient kingdom is revealed. 4. The God's Knights start to get defeated by the Revolutionary Army and the Grand Fleet. And 5. Emu begins the Great Cleansing.
Oh man,
peak fiction's incoming, man. And like you said, all of this stuff, to me, the reason why everything you're saying makes so much sense, Joe, is because we're already getting the context for it now. Oda's putting all of the pieces in place for us, so by the time we get to the end of Egghead, we're like, oh, where did this come from? Like, no. He set everything out in the outer part of Egghead, outside of the world, to lead towards everything he just said, which is why I'm so glad we focused on the Vivi stuff, because now when we finish Egghead Island, and we have Vivi giving out a passionate speech to the entire planet about Emu's existence and Lily's letter, then, while at the same time, in another section, we're going to be revealed the name of the ancient kingdom, which is going to be our biggest hint coming out of what the Void Century is. By the time that we get to it, and of course, Elbaf is going to present a couple more different hints. But by the time that we get there, knowing Oda, he wants to put all these pieces in place so we can all, speculate on what exactly we're going to be getting there. He's that type of writer where he loves having the pieces in place where we can put it together, and what better way than to have them all being put, or at least start being placed here at the end of Egghead Island. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It also ties us into the overall significance and the final story significance of Fishman Island. And if we look back at when every time Charlos has been hit, it smacked you around the face, it's important to realise those events, each of those 3 times, those events revolved around the Fishmen. The first time it's Hachi getting shot. Second time it's trying to kidnap Shirahoshi, and the third time it's trying to kidnap Shirahoshi. So all of these things connect to the resentment between the Celestial Dragons and the Fishmen. And of course, this leads us to Mjosgard, Don Quixote Mjosgard, who was recently executed. Mjosgard was the one, if we go back to Fishman Island and the Otohime flashback, Mjosgard was the one who had a change of heart and supported Otohime's petition to bring the fish people to the surface. The execution of Mjosgard is not just the execution of Mjosgard because he rebelled against the Celestials. It represents the undoing of that progress toward peace that was achieved by Otohime and the declaration of war between Marijoa and Fishman Island.
Goodness gracious. We're going to be for some peak.
Our next super chat is actually a really interesting question. Thank you, DJ with the 2. He asked, is there trolls or other Norse mythology in Elbaf? A troll feels like a really fun concept to me.
I think maybe it's because I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy right now, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that stuff, like potentially like trolls, goblins, very Lord of the Rings-esque looking creatures. I would be so into that because obviously we're going to be seeing our giants, and like Joe talked about earlier, potential Yggdrasil connections there. So this could be Oda's opportunity now that we got the Land Before Time arc in Elbaf, or in Little Garden, where we got to see like the big dinosaurs and all the big animals and everything there. This will be his opportunity to explore a lot of different things that are gigantified / from that era. And what better way for adventure than having some of the stuff that originated this stuff in the first place, which is like trolls and goblins and fairies and all of that. Even though we've already seen fairies and Tontadas back in Dressrosa, but it odified is what I'm trying to get at, and I'm with that. I love that idea.
I think perhaps there aren't trolls as such in Elbaf, but if we connect the idea of trolls to the concept of the Oni, then what if perhaps they don't exist so much in current Elbaf, but if we go back to ancient Elbaf and the history of the ancient giants, there seems to be some kind of genetic connection between the giants, the ancient giants, and the Oni effectively being, big giant horned behemoth trolls. I think that if in ancient Elbaf, Kaido's race, the Oni, were the original sort of giant race that lived in ancient Elbaf, that will be the sort of the kingdom of the trolls sort of esque thing that we get from Norse mythology.
Mm-hmm.
That ties in to so many things that I can barely begin to tie together, including the idea that when we go to Thriller Bark, we get Oars, who's supposedly the continent pillar, but then we go to Marineford and we meet Oars Jr. And if we look at his flag, it says not Oars 2, it says Oars 3.
Yep.
So that implies that the oars that Moria had is not Oars the original. That's Oars number 2.
Yep.
Where's Oars the original? Well, we have actually seen potentially Oars number 1, otherwise known as Onigashima.
Yes.
Yes, that's a fun take.
I 100% agree, Joe, and the reason for it is because I did not... So throughout that entire section, we had multiple different discussions about this, about Oars, potential connections to Thriller Bark, and how that just felt so natural for someone to, especially after the Giant Straw Hat chapter, for someone to be of Luffy's, demeanor inside of a giant's body. I was like, dude, this feels like Oars was Joy Boy. It feels like it, but the timeline didn't line up for me. But now that you say that the original Oars from back in the day might have actually been the head of Onigashima, then how poetic is that Joy Boy came back on top of Oars' head?
Yep.
I think that's a really, really cool. And also, guys, that would explain why, at the end of Wano, everybody was like, "Oh, or we're not going to get the history of Onigashima." It felt really weird, very un-Oda, for us to not explore the history of an arc. But obviously, he couldn't explore it because it might have like extreme Void Century implications. So yeah, dude, I'm so down for that idea. Honestly,
Another way that I feel about this situation, because I do agree with both of you, is like maybe this is just me, but when I look at the ores on Thriller Bark, that doesn't seem like someone that could pool a continent. Like, yes, he's strong. He could like probably punch it. We know he can like punch and break buildings, but pool a continent. I almost get the impression that maybe the continent pooler race isn't, or not race, but the whole continent pooler motif isn't necessarily because of him, but maybe because of his race or his ancestor. And if we go down the route that the skull on Onigashima is like the original ores, that has to be a huge, massive creature, way bigger than the ores on Thriller Bark, and that would be something that could probably pool a continent or an island or something like that.
That lends itself as well to the idea that we have the flower capital of Wano in the center. All of these other islands with different climates seem to have been placed there artificially. They're not naturally occurring neighbors to each other.
True.
Yes, sir.
That perhaps Oz, the original, some people think, oh, it was the protector of Wano, but actually, if we go back to Punk Hazard, when we first get to Punk Hazard, we learn, or we get the implication from the symbols that are on the big gate that Zoro then slices open. There's the world government symbol, there's the navy symbol, and there's an ancient giant symbol. And then Law later explains to us that the original purpose of Punk Hazard was as a research facility into the ancient giants.
Wait,
The numbers are sorry.
No, you're good. Continue.
So that we have the numbers are explained to be failed ancient giants. Kaido has the numbers. Big Mom says he got them or acquired them from Punk Hazard. We know that Kaido himself was a prisoner at Punk Hazard. And then we look at the map. If you pull up a map of Punk Hazard, you'll notice it looks like a Pokeball with a big circle in the middle. How did Kaido escape Punk Hazard? Where did Onigashima come from in the first place? Onigashima fits perfectly in that circle at the center of Punk Hazard.
That's interesting. So Kaido, the same way that he pulled the Onigashima and attempted to put it over the flower capital, he did that from Punk Hazard to Wano. That's wild.
You actually made me think of two things real quick. Well, I've thought about the Pokeball thing for Punk Hazard, and I've always waited for someone to say that because I thought it was just me. So I'm really happy that you said that actually. And then like the second thing is, now that we're going down this route of like, okay, what if the skull on Onigashima is the original ores? It's kind of funny how, just like Recon said, the return of Joy Boy, Luffy awakening his fruit, took place on that skull. And what island, what arc follows Wano? Egghead Island. Can we argue that egg that stores information, like stuff possibly from the Void Century, is the brain to that skull? Is there some kind of metaphor? Is there something that Oda's trying to hint with us? Because I do think it's kind of weird that these arcs are kind of like back to back with each other. Going from a skull to a brain with Punk Records. Maybe there's something there.
I think the key theme is, if we go a bit further than the theme of the mind or database, the theme that both is associated with both and ties more into other things as well. It's the theme of memories.
Right.
So
yes, sir.
With the brain, your brain is your memory function, and with the computer, there's sort of memory slots. And Punk Records is your records. You record your memories so you can remember them. You can record things so you can remember them. So this theme of memories also ties to Bonnie's current situation, where she's experiencing Kuma's memories, and it tells us potentially a tie-in with Garp, Blackbeard, and Pudding, because Pudding has the ability to steal people's memories, take them out of your mind in a film, and to edit them, cut them out, and put them back. So you have the possibility that at the same time as everything's going on with Punk Records, everything's going on with Vegapunk and his brain fruit, we also have Bonnie experiencing Kuma's memories, and then potentially, if this is the big if, because it's a big question of how do you even do this. If Garp is to get captured by Blackbeard, what if Blackbeard were to then use Pudding's devil fruit to extract Garp's memories?
Yup, from God Valley, Zebek, etc.
When you first told me that, Joe, I was because you know me, I know how much I love Pudding. The entire time, I'm like, man, what is Pudding's role going to be now that she's been captured? And whenever you put that, I was like, okay, I love Pudding, but if we need to get to the point to where she's utilized for us to get the God Valley flashback, I'm here. All right, I'm all here for that. That would be incredible.
It also, the connection of Pudding also creates a way for Garp to escape. If Garp is captured, many people would disagree. Like, how do you capture Garp? Like, sea chain things don't work. Uh, Devil fruit techniques don't seem to work. He can counter them. He can break out the ice easily. Right. I think if he is to be knocked out, whilst he's knocked out, his memories are stolen, and he forgets that he's this really strong guy. Like, he forgets he's
Thank you,
Garp,
Damien.
the hero of the Marines. Then he's a prisoner. He can't escape. But with the connection of Pudding, you have Katakuri and the remnants of the Big Mum family will almost certainly try to save Pudding.
100%.
Yeah, Katakuri not doing anything strange.
A way for Garp to escape Blackbeard, if he is captured in the first place, would be the invasion of Katakuri and the Big Mum family.
Yes.
Yep.
Full of Lead Island.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And like we talked about before, Joe, the reason why I like that idea so much is because I want to see what Big Mom's family learned from Luffy's expedition to get Sanji. Because multiple times we saw how many people thought it was idiotic for the Straw Hats to go there after one person into enemy Emperor territory. And I would love if Katakuri, seeing what Luffy and his crew did, they come to the same conclusion where they have one sister that is stuck in enemy Yonko territory. Very similar situation to what took place with the Straw Hat crew attempting to get 1% of Yonko territory in Sanji. It would be so cool if this is how we see the way in which the Straw Hats had a direct effect on Big Mom's family. That they were to go to attempt to do the same thing, even though it might be a suicide mission. Even though they might die, they still want to attempt it because not only is this their love for Pudding being showcased, but also that would show what every single arc has shown us is how the Straw Hats have changed the people they've come across. And I would love for Katakuri to have a standoff with the Blackbeard Pirates because he's here due to being influenced by Luffy's original mission to save Sanji. I think that would be such a cool way to explore all of that.
It presents a great parallel, as you say. It presents that great parallel of how Katakuri was influenced by Luffy, but also it adds to every single one of the major fighters in Big Mom's crew is a devil fruit user.
True.
If we have Katakuri, Smoothie, Cracker, Oven, Daifuku, Mondo, many of the others who are like, they're not high tier, they're not top tier, but they're strong. Like, they're a problem. If you have all these people with these devil fruit powers coming at you at once, all using their powers at once, that's an issue. Even for Blackbeard, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But then, of course, if you have these people, potentially some of them being defeated, that's all of these devil fruits. Just like Blackbeard would love it. He would just like, you're bringing these devil fruits to me.
Treasure trove. Mm-hmm.
But also, that leaves, if Katakuri and the family, all the heavy hitters, are to leave to Full of Lead Island, that leaves Whole Cake Island entirely undefended.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
And then I think that is going to be the main role of Fujitora in Aokiji's big plan to strike back on all fronts. Because Whole Cake Island, if you look at the current Yonko territories, Luffy has Wano, Blackbeard has Full of Lead, Shanks has Elbath, and Buggy has Empty Bluffs Island. Whole Cake Island is in the dead center of all four of those locations.
I never looked at it like that.
Me neither. Yeah, that's really cool.
As a strategic front, as like a frontier for the Navy, that is a perfect location, strategically speaking, them to set up a garrison.
Yeah, and it's already halfway there based on what what happened whenever Aokiji came in there and invaded. I mean, what's left of it right now? You know what I mean? So they would just have to collect the pieces, especially after all of them leave to go on this expedition to get Pudding back.
We do have 333 from L. Thank you so much. He posted 3 eyes because he's a member of the 3-eyed tribe, baby. I'm so glad I used that name for my people.
Yeah,
the 3-eyed
awesome.
tribe. That's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
We're yet to find more members of the 3-eyed tribe.
Man.
Right.
That stresses me out, bro. I want to see them so bad. I just imagine one of them like looking so badass, like a dude, like on some Calgara shit or something, man.
I think we've already met 2 others, Jesus Burgess and Killer.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Both of them are members of the 3-eyed tribe, I believe.
You want to explore that?
So Burgess, if we look at Burgess first of all, Blackbeard's former second in command, but used to before Shiryu and all the level 6 people joined. Burgess was Blackbeard's like second strongest guy in his crew, and I think he's his first mate. There's a bit of like inconsistency, or it's not very clear exactly like who's in what position in his crew. But Burgess always wears this sort of wrestling mask, always covering his forehead. And then when we go to Dressrosa, we see him in the Happy Store mask. He has the Happy Store, the O of Happy Store is placed exactly where the third eye would be.
Oh, wait, when was that?
The tournament in Dressrosa.
What?
It just has a store that reads Happy, has a mask on, a paper bag that reads Happy Store. The O at store is right where the third eye would be. And
I'm looking it up right now.
If we look at the symbol on Burgess's regular record, on his mask, on the wrestling mask, the symbol is a 3-pronged, well, I don't know what you call it, but it has 3 heads, 3 major points, like a trident, again in the shape of 3 eyes.
Yeah, they put Happy Store and then it was upside down, which is kind of weird, and the O in store lands exactly where the third eye would be. What? Bro!
If we think about it, how has Blackbeard obtained so much knowledge of history unless he has, this whole time, had someone who is capable of reading the poneglyphs?
That's insane, man. And that makes a lot of sense. That would explain why he doesn't need to go after someone like Robin. He's like, why would I go after her? Like, sure, yeah, Robin's valuable, but he can look at Jesus Burgess and be like, well, I got someone that could read the poneglyphs. Damn.
I believe also that Killer is a member of the 3-eyed tribe, and this same thing applies to Kid. He also has secretly had someone who can read the poneglyphs. And in fact, if we go back to the end of Wano, and when Law gives them the road poneglyph from Kaido, we look at Killer seems actually to actively read it.
He actively reads what? I missed that, sorry.
Law gives them the print from the road poneglyph they got from Kaido.
Yeah.
And that, instead of just keeping it and saying, oh, we can't do anything with this, Killer actually opens it up and starts reading it.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good point too. That feels like one of those moments where Oda like sneaks something right past you, tries to like sneak something under the table.
And he does it again when they're approaching Elbath. Killer also once again is holding the print of this, like the copy of the poneglyph, and seems to be reading from it again.
Yeah, I really like that, especially the Jesus Burgess one. That Happy Store, I'm still mind blown about that. That's so sneaky.
Seem to have lost King.
Yeah, I think he lagged out, but he'll probably be able to rejoin one of the VCs. I was gonna say though, we gotta end here in a few minutes unless you want to keep going. The ball's in your court, whatever you're down for.
So I've got to go in a bit as well, but perhaps we could do like one more sort of discussion to end things off.
Yeah, for sure. The next one would be from L, $5. Thank you so much, L. He said, any Frankie or Usopp power-ups during Egghead?
My favorite theory for Frankie getting a power-up is that he would incorporate the green blood concept into his cola system. If we think about this, the green blood is the sort of blood created through the lineage factors of devil fruit users, normally paramecia types. And when you apply the green blood into the bloodstream, it turns the blood cells from red to green, creating the green blood. And this gives the person, whoever gets this vial of green blood into their system, then has the devil fruit powers of the person that blood came from. If Frankie were able to implement this into his cola system, he would be able to pick and choose at any given moment devil fruits to use. He would have multiple devil fruits.
That's so fucking sick, dude. Shout out to Hidden Island.
That's Hidden Island theory, I believe. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, man, that's so fun. What do you think? Like, do you think Oda's actually gonna go for it?
I think the concept is fantastic, but I think if Oda did that, he has to provide a way to nerf the green blood. It has to be limited for each time he uses it. Say, like, you know, the cola bottles become empty, he often runs out of cola and he's run out of juice. I think he can implement this concept where Frankie has each cola bottle filled with a different green blood, with each one with a different devil fruit. He can pick and choose devil fruits to use, but then those quickly run out.
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking too. Like, definitely there would have to be some kind of drawback, and I was thinking exactly that. Maybe the green blood runs out. Maybe he only has enough for like 10 minutes or something like that, and that would also add to the hype factor of his fights, where it's like, oh man, I only have enough blood for this one final attack. I could definitely, see a drawback like that. Yeah,
there's a way for Frankie to get Kuma's fruit and many more besides.
Has a whole arsenal of fruits because of that, basically.
That would be incredible if that were to become true.
They said the cola bottles would be like a Call of Duty zombie perks. That's great. All right. So everybody, we are approaching the 2-hour mark. Mr. Joe, I believe you're gonna be heading out, right?
That's right. So I'm gonna leave you now. But thank you for having me. It's been a great talking to you both.
Of course, man. Where can people find you? What are you putting? What are you having on the table?
So I'm over on Twitter at FreeSkullJoe. You find me there, SKULLJOE. I do mostly theories over there. I do intend to eventually bring those to YouTube, but that's a ways off yet. I need to get the equipment and get a setup going. So for now, I'm over on Twitter. I have I've just started a new series, or 2 new series. One of them revolving around a thread for each of the Straw Hats, which is almost finished. I've got a Jinbei one coming up next called The Path Toward the Sun. And I've just started a new series to discuss the checkered fate of all the characters who have, I believe, the checkered fate, which we've recently learned more about.
Okay, it sounds like you got some fire on the table. Greatly appreciate you being here. I'm gonna stick here a little bit longer and try to like knock these super chats out the way. But yeah, thank you so much, Joe. You did amazing today.
Thank you for having me.
Yo,
Okay.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, bro?
Dude, I lost connection for like 10 minutes. I was like, I was trying to find my way back in, but yo, Joe, man, you did awesome, brother, as always.
I appreciate you both. I appreciate you both very much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here, homie.
Right, I'm gonna drop off now, but take care, everyone.
Salute, bro. Take care.
And we'll do this again soon.
Of course, we have to.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care, man.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Recon, the ball's in your court. However long you feel like hanging out is totally up to you. We do have some super chats left, so all up to you.
Sounds good. We'll get through them. If I lose connection again, I apologize because I'm driving. But
totally understandable.
Yeah. So if I cut out, just let me know.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Did you have any thoughts about Frankie or Usopp having power-ups at Egghead?
Oh yeah. So that was a discussion. I missed out on it.
Yeah, that was the
Oh,
one you missed. The whole green
man,
cola for Frankie, or green blood for Frankie, that's just insane.
dude, that would be so awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, obviously, because this is their. It feels like one of Usopp's power up arcs, considering that we all expect Elbaf to be the major one. But I most certainly expect him to come out of this one with something really, really nice. But Frankie, man, I am very much looking forward to seeing what Oda has cooking for him as a power up coming out of this arc. I never even thought about that green blood thing. That's really interesting. Having one of the Straw Hats directly connected to utilizing that for our benefit, I think that would be awesome. Do you have any more like thoughts on what was shared on the Frankie Greenblood thing?
I just think it would be so cool to see him like swap through devil fruits technically by using the green blood, and
Right.
if like it feels realistic because like Oda could add an obvious drawback to where like he only has a certain amount of blood, like how he only has a certain amount of cola, and Oda can have like this really exciting hype factor to where like maybe Frankie only has like one more attack left in the green blood.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Think that's
Dude,
really
that would
fun.
be awesome. That'd be awesome, yeah. And like you said, it would have a time limit, which means every single time he would use it, we'd all be like, "Oh, like man, he's down to 1 or he's down to 2."
Yup.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
Mogadishu with the 4 months. Thank you so much. This is hilarious. He asked, "Can Wapple 1v1 Kid if Wapple is hungry?"
Oh, I mean, if Wapple's hungry, I feel like he could 1v1 anyone.
Anyone.
Yeah, if he's hungry, dude, he's going to McDonald's HQ and he's tearing up shop, man. You know.
McDonald's
No, but
HQ.
On a serious note, though, no, we gotta stop disrespecting kids.
Really? You're a kid defender?
Well, no, I always throw jokes at kid like I did earlier, but no, we gotta have fun and defend kid, like we're on the two sides of history with Eustace Kid.
Yes, sir. Like the thing is ever since I started my channel, especially, I always was defending Kid, especially during the chapters at like the beginning of him and Law versus Big Mom. I remember the slander was still high at that point. I've always gave Kid the benefit of the doubt, but the straw that broke the camel's back for me was Kid going to Elbaf and just saying, "F it, Shanks, we could throw hands again." When I saw that dialogue, I'm like, man, I don't even want to defend you anymore. Like he's just too reckless to the point where he has to be that way because that's his character, and like all these characters that are competing with Luffy to become Pirate King, they have to have some kind of flaw that holds them back from achieving that greatness, and that would be his. But damn, like it can get annoying for readers where it's like he's way too hard-headed.
For sure, and that's why that moment was so satisfying when Shanks one-shotted him, because it was like, yeah, bro, get down. Like you're not him right now,
You're
like,
not him.
Calm down. Yeah. So but like we talked about before, I love how Oda used Kid as like a type of mechanism to show this is what Luffy would have been if Luffy wasn't him. Like he would have ended up like Kid in multiple different scenarios, but because Luffy is him and he's always had that stroke of luck in certain instances and of having other people that would help him in certain scenarios, he has been able to get to where he is right now. But Kid represents like the alternate reality. What would happen if Luffy failed on his journey or was destroyed on his journey and wasn't able to get back up from it? So I think that presents an interesting storyline there for Kid.
That and other things like chapter 1, Shanks was trying to teach Luffy some fights aren't worth having, and then that was explored during Jaya, where Luffy, he wasn't throwing hands with the people at the bar, but Kid never had that experience. He didn't have someone to teach him like, hey, you don't always have to fight. You don't like combat is not always the answer. And that's why Kid's always trying to butt heads with people because he never had that lesson. He didn't have a Shanks to teach him. So that even goes like beyond Luffy. That almost reaches Shanks too.
Yeah, great point.
And DJ with the 2, appreciate you, DJ. Little Garden was a lore drop and we overlooked it.
100%. Little Garden feels like it might be, not as important to the grand scheme of things as Skypiea, but it feels like Skypiea Mini, where Little Garden, as time goes on, is going to be, like DJ said, one of the more over-realized lore dumps that we just couldn't understand because we didn't have the context for it at the time.
Do you feel like, well, I feel like I already know the answer. Are you expecting like a ton of foreshadowing coming from Little Garden once we reach Elbaf? Like, do you think we're going to be able to go back and pull out like 20 different instances where we'd be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly like how it is in Elbaf?
For sure. Pieces of foreshadowing, parallels, direct connections. I absolutely expect a lot of stuff, not even just to Elbaf. Or I'm sorry, not to Little Garden, but to any time a giant has been referenced in the story. We'll be able to pull back and be like, I see what Oda was cooking here.
Is Elbaf the arc where Usopp becomes a brave warrior? Or the bravest warrior?
That's such a good question. That's such a good question, dude. For so long, I was on the yes train for that. I feel like Elbaf might be the final stepping stone for that, and then he achieves becoming a brave warrior in the final saga. Or, I'm sorry, in the final stretch of the story. It's going to be one of those two. I think it'd be interesting if he does accomplish his dream there, and then in the final arc, we see Usopp having already fulfilled. Maybe Usopp is the first one of the crew to achieve his dream, which would put Elbaf on like that different type of pedestal where a Straw Hat achieved their dream in an arc for the first time in an arc like that, and that'd be really interesting to explore. But it might ultimately serve as the final stepping stone before he achieves his dream. But for right now, you know what? Let's go with it. That's the arc where Usopp gets.
And one more on Elbaf. Is that going to be a point where Usopp gets a super magical hammer?
Why not? Let's get it. Yes, that works. and he's going to have the 8,000 giants that he's always wanted.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
I'm telling you. He's going to have 8,000 Tontada, which I already referred to him as a god. And then he's going to have the giants too.
Bro,
like, Usopp's going to be crazy.
That's an insane cosign. Like, imagine you could go out into the world and be like, yeah, you know Elbaf, the legendary island of legendary giants? Yeah, they all fuck with me. They all cosign me.
Facts.
That's just crazy.
Elbaf is going to be the land that both, like, everybody knows messes with Shanks. But in that same line of thought, they know they mess even heavier with Usopp. And then they're going to look at Usopp and be like, that guy's not even the captain? Like, what does this crew have going on?
Oh, that's just like the Zoro moment. Yeah.
Right.
That's fire. I like how you said that. We got L with the 7 months. Thank you, L. Nothing but bangers for these Buster calls. Pure amazing One Piece YouTubers and theorists. Keep it up. Appreciate you, man.
Nothing but love to you for having me on, dude. This has been a fun time.
Of course, appreciate you being here greatly. And then L with another super chat. Thank you. He said Joy Boy, Lily, and Emu equals Adam, Eve, and the devil.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, there's just like all these Christian references all over the story, you know?
Right. And it feels like that one might end up being the biggest one. Whenever we go into the Void Century, we see the origin of fruits. We come to understand like I was talking about earlier, the creation stories all coming together, because it's not just going to be the Adam and Eve story. We're going to have the Adam and Eve story, multiple other creation stories from other, not just religions, but from other walks of life that Oda's going to Odify to put together. But I do believe ever since the Devil Fruits came to be earlier on in the series, that Oda has wanted to have the origin of this story to tie back to the Book of Genesis from the Bible. And if that's going to be Emu, Nika, or / Joy Boy and Lily, then man, I'm all for it. I can't wait.
I like how you use that word, Odify. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, I mean, he takes everything and Odifies it, like turns it on his head. Does something none of us would have ever anticipated, and I always call that Odifying it. But,
yeah, like last stream when we were on Dak's channel, you said something along the lines of like, Oda will take this classic trope you see in anime and manga, this classic cliche, and he'll Odify it. He'll put his own spin and own twist on it, and you're like, man, Oda just outdid every other author, every other movie, every other TV show that used that same trope. He Odifies it.
Right.
And King with the 2. Joe, proud of you from Trill. Maybe Joe saw that. Thank you,
Yeah.
King.
Yeah, if not, gotta send that to him in a picture.
Of course, I will screenshot that for sure. And so with the 10, thank you so much, man. You're always coming through these streams, always in chat, always super chatting. I really appreciate you. So can't speak English. Do you think Luffy causing mayhem / freeing slaves at Sabaody will cause Emu to use Mother Flame and destroy Sabaody, which is the real cause of destruction of Fishman Island in Charlie's vision?
Well, I mean, if Emu's wearing the giant straw hat when they do it, yes. I could most certainly see, I could see it. I could see it because then the prophecy would come true.
How have I never pictured Emu putting the hat on? That like never occurred to me, and it feels like such an obvious thought.
Right, and that would lead to the prophecy of like a person, because it just says a person wearing a straw hat.
Right,
does it? So that would make so much sense actually. So let me tell you something, 3. If in one of these chapters, Emu puts on the straw hat, we all better be scared.
Oh hell
Every
no!
single last one of us.
So are you alluding to the idea that the straw hat Emu has gives you powers of some sort, or it's a weapon, or?
Oh no, that just putting the hat on means that Sabaody and Fishman Island are about to be destroyed. Like it's, I don't think the hat in particular gives you like any abilities, but that it would just give us that like the prophecy is about to be fulfilled now that the person has put the hat on. That's not Luffy.
Luffy as the park won't be known as a hero.
Narrator with the 50 bomb. Oh Lord!
Shout out to
narrator. I'm gonna get to that as fast as I can, narrator. Thank you so much, man. Narrator with the 2 said KKL. Are you aware of KKL?
What is that?
Kobe kills Luffy.
You know something? Because I do believe there is a strong possibility that Luffy dies in the series. If it is Kobe that is given the credit for that, there's no greater person to be given the credit for. I just wonder how Oda would execute such a thing, considering how much he looks up to him, how much he loves them, stuff of that nature. But in the history books, but the thing is, right, is I feel like Oda is leading towards a history after One Piece that actually is representative of what took place, not necessarily a history that is going to be filtered or anything. So Kobe, I feel like we would almost run into a scenario where he wouldn't take credit, even if he would do such a thing. Like he would have Luffy as like this glorified hero that wasn't taken out by someone like him. But I do believe there's a strong possibility he might do it. I don't know. It depends on how Oda would execute it. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like Luffy uniting the world, taking down Emu and the world government. I feel like that would kind of have him forgiven of his sin. Like I feel like they're gonna wipe his bounty, and he's gonna be treated as a hero. But I do like the concept of Kobe being credited in some fashion. Maybe he doesn't have to kill Luffy. Maybe he can capture him or like beat him up, quote in quotations. I'm not sure how Oda would spin it, but I could see Oda, in some kind of fashion giving Kobe some clout or some credit when it comes to doing something to Luffy.
Dude, it would be like the first the second chapter, third chapter in the series where Luffy forces Kobe to hit him. Right? Yeah. So like at the end of the series, Luffy, knowing Kobe would never hit him, he's like he just eggs him on, forces Kobe to hit him. Luffy gets knocked out. Everyone's like, "Oh, Captain Kobe just took out the Pirate King!" Like ring the bell. Yeah, I think that'd be a great parallel at the beginning.
That's an insane foreshadowing. Like if he actually did do something like that, because like I get it in the moment where Luffy was like basically teaching Kobe, how to carry himself and whatnot. But like you can definitely explore, more depth by having, like how you said, Luffy telling Kobe to punch him, and then like, oh, you captured me, you beat me, you defeated the Pirate King, like.
Right.
And then narrator with the 5, appreciate it, thank you. He said Luffy and Kobe bond over being willing to die for their respective dreams. Luffy doesn't recognize Kobe until he says that. That's
true. And last stream it was, I believe, brought up with the exact stream that characters, their appearances change once they go after their dreams to look more quote unquote attractive. And And I feel like to Luffy, we see this in even the Blackbeard speech, that he sees in Blackbeard what he saw in Shanks and Ace, which are obviously the two people most important to him in his life. Like when Blackbeard says people's dreams never end, that connects with him. So when Kobe, this scrawny kid who did not want to chase after his dreams, finally is like, no, I want to do what I want to do, and grows a set, we have a moment with Luffy that's really beautiful, where he's from that moment onwards, he treats Kobe as like an equal that will one day accomplish his dream. And I've always loved that about both characters. And what I love so much about it too is we see that Luffy and Kobe don't always have their greatest heroic moments in front of the public's eye. Where, for example, Luffy will have a moment like in Drum Island where he's carrying Nami and Sanji up that insane mountain that no one else in the world will ever know about this. Similar to Kobe in front of all of Blackbeard's crew, basically being like, y'all ain't doing nothing to me. I don't know what you're doing. You're an emperor of the sea. I respect the title, but I'm the leader of this game right now. And I love how Kobe in enemy territory, in the midst of the most dangerous person, not named Dragon, to the WG, in front of Blackbeard, he's still talking his smack. He's still doing his thing, and that is such a Luffy thing. And so their journeys not only parallel each other, but they also do heroic / really, I guess best word for it would be like manly things with no one else around to see. And that's something that I love from both characters.
What do you think about the idea of Kobe using Conquerors on Hachinosu?
Let's get it. Oh, man, that'd be so exciting. And I feel like it's already being, ever since Marineford, we've been leading towards Kobe's blossoming moments, an observation and an ornament. But what better way than for this to be the time where he develops his Conquerors, so that now he gets his Conquerors, and then whenever he could pull a Zoro and both show Conquerors and Conquerors coding at the same time, or we see Kobe show off his Conquerors here, and then at the end of the series, we see Kobe full on like Garp. Conquerors coding, really, really nasty, going up in like swimwear. I'm so down for Kobe unlocking his Conquerors here on Hachinosu, for sure.
Man, Kobe's gonna be such a beast, bro. When he's in his prime or whatever, oh lord, he's gonna be a problem.
Because we see it in his will, right? Like he's not afraid of even someone like Blackbeard with his whole crew. Like we know how nasty his Conquerors code is. His Conquerors coding and his Conquerors Aki can be. Like he's gonna be a filthy animal.
And then Narrator with the 20. Thank you so much, Narrator. Kobe hit Luffy at the end of Shell Island and knocked his straw hat off of his head. This is the first time we see the straw hat fall before we know its full importance. The symbol of the Pirate King, maybe even the crown.
True. That's a great point. That is a very, very good point. Imagine when we find out the true significance of the straw hats. I mean, because it's always going to have two significances, right? It's going to have the overall story significance to once we find out Joy Boy and why Emu has the giant straw hat. It'll have that significance, but it also has the significance of it being important to Luffy. We know early on in the series, Luffy didn't let anyone touch the hat, which is why that moment whenever he gives the hat to Nami is so iconic. For Kobe to have punched the hat off of him already solidified how much respect he had for Kobe. Because if that had been anyone else, he would have smacked him down to the flag. Yo, don't put my hat down on the floor. What's wrong with you?
Man, I absolutely love the connection between Luffy and Kobe. It kind of reminds me of Naruto and Konohamaru, but to be honest, I prefer the Luffy Kobe one a bit more.
Me too. I do too, because I feel like the Naruto Konohamaru thing, of course it was very important throughout the course of the story, but Kishimoto stopped like highlighting it at a certain point. Whereas Luffy and Kobe has been consistently highlighted throughout the course of the story, that their journeys are paralleling one another.
100%. And Narrator with the huge 50 bomb following the 20 in multiple super chats. Narrator, thank you so much, my man. Luffy as the Pirate King won't be known as a hero. Too many times Luffy says he doesn't want to be a hero. So after the final war, he'll still have a bounty and be known as the worst pirate to everyone around the world except for a few who know the truth. I have mixed feelings on that one.
Me too, because I feel like Man, I feel like it would be so One Piece for that to be the case, for his legend to be only like the truth will only be realized by those individuals who he met on his journey. So like the people of Dressrosa, for example, Drum Island, Alabasta, Skypiea, they would understand and realize the truth. The only problem I have with this is I believe Luffy versus Emu is going to be like a world scale battle where everyone is going to have to see this thing take place. So it's like, how would they not know that Luffy is the figure who took out the oppressor of the world? If he is to still be a pirate that like what narrator said in the comment, that will be known as like the worst pirate in history, that would be awesome from like a pirate standpoint, which at the end of the day this is still a pirate story. But where we're heading right now, it would be kind of hard to get to that point, because it really does feel like Luffy's going to be aligning so many people under him that who's not going to know the truth of Monkey D. Luffy. So I'm not sure. What do you think, 3, in regards to that?
Yeah. I feel like his thoughts kind of fit like the overall story. Like, you know, all these people think Luffy's bad, pirates are bad, but the people that met Luffy along the way, they know the truth. So like his conclusion, or his thoughts about the conclusion, is how I see the current storyline. But I want to focus on something real quick. You said something along the lines of Luffy versus Emu being like the scale of the world.
Yeah.
If you think about like all these major arcs of One Piece, like you have, for an example, Wano, Kaido had the floating Onigashima and was threatening to wreck it into the flower capital. Then you have the bird cage from Doflamingo. I think Oda's using these island level threats, these city level threats, to build us to what you said, a world level threat. What would that
100%.
world level threat be? I think I know exactly what it is. What if Emu threatens to smack the moon into the planet Earth? Like, literally just blow up the fucking planet.
Let me tell you why I love that, because that is something that's been used in JRPGs, and we know that Oda has been heavily inspired by JRPGs. So it would be so cool if Emu uses the one thing we know is sacred to people that that worship the sun god. And like in Skypiea, for example, they look at the moon as like a birth. This is a place that is sacred to NL, that they absolutely adore. What if he were to take that one thing that is absolutely sacred to the people that are against them, and he's like, I'm going to crash this thing against the earth, and I dare anyone to stop me. I think that would be such a cool... Because, you know, throughout the course of the story, like you said, Birdcage, Onigashima, there's always the time limit effect. Every major arc has a time limit. What is going to be the time limit for the final arc where there's... The strides are extremely OP? It will be something of the scale, like you said, of a moon crashing against the earth. That would definitely be the craziest time limit we've ever had, and something that no one would be able to ignore.
Someone said incoming. Someone said on some Zelda shit. I was thinking Majora's Mask too.
Yes. Yep. Everybody's like, "Oh, we only have 72 hours to live, man."
Yeah, man. Imagine like Luffy has to, you know, go gigantic mode and bounce the moon back.
Oh man, that would be so goated. Yo, I'll tell you, power scaling One Piece at that point is going to be some of the craziest stuff ever. That's insane, man.
This man Oda, when he gave Luffy Gear 5, he opened the floodgates when he did that, man.
He really did. He really did, bro. That's going to be so goated. And I feel like even with the latest chapter, or the one before that in 1085, he really did leave a lot of openings for Emu, because Emu feels like they're not sort of limited to what we're normally used to seeing from like humans. I mean, turning into that massive bulbous ball-like thing, absorbing the fire, utilizing that devil arrow tail thing. I was like, yeah, it feels like Emu is going to be very similar to Gear 5 Luffy, where they're only limited by their imagination. And so that final battle has to be fitting of that, right? So it's really, really exciting stuff.
Then we got Davon with the 3 months. Thank you so much, man. What's up, crew? What's good, Davon? How you been, man?
What's good?
And narrator with another super with the 10. Thank you, man. Kobe, hero of the Marines, will be tasked with killing Luffy but won't be able to. Instead, he will fake the death of Luffy and Luffy will go on as Joy Boy. That or the other way around with the names. That's
I
actually
think-
really interesting.
I think rather than Luffy being called Joy Boy, I feel like you said, Kobe will declare Luffy's dead, but then after that, Luffy goes on his other adventure, which might be connected to his real dream, which will give Luffy the opportunity to go and explore. Let's just say he wants to explore space, whatever it is, and no one would know a thing about it. You know
I was
what I
hoping
mean?
you would say that. I was hoping you would say that. Do you want to
That'd
see
be
that
so
as
awesome.
a sequel, or do you want to just kind of keep that in like this main, storyline?
I would rather keep that in the main storyline, but it depends on the way that Oda does it. Because obviously, I do think we're exploring the moon in some capacity at some point, moon piece, whatever that's going to be. But in the final, real finale of the series, this is an adventure story. There's space pirates that have been a part of history. To Japan, Captain Harlock is one of the most influential stories that's been created in the 20th century. So knowing how that's inspired Oda, now that Egghead is the thing, I don't see how we do not explore the concept of space pirates, since it's already been explored through NL's cover story, that those are actual space pirates. So I feel like by the end of the series, whether it's a one-off, whatever it is, I want to see Luffy and the crew in space exploring, and then whether it's left open-ended after that, whatever it is, I don't care. But I do want to see the Thousand Sunny as like a rocket ship in space with the rest of the crew, either implying that their adventures will go on forever as like that type of ending, or we actually get to see the adventure itself, and that is the final journey, or whatever it is. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that would be a lot of fun.
I know Grainline Review has a video where he was arguing that the One Piece could be the planet Earth, and Luffy goes to outer space. Luffy goes to the moon. We get Moon Piece, and Luffy points at the planet Earth and be like, and he says that was the One Piece. That's the One Piece right there, the greatest treasure in the world, the home of humanity, everything we've ever known, or at least him.
I love that. I actually really love that idea. Yeah, I've never heard that theory before. That's actually really cool.
Because I always think I definitely agree, Luffy and the Straw Hats will go to outer space, the moon, in some kind of capacity, but I'm just thinking why? What would be
Right.
the driving reason for that?
Right. Yeah, that I've been thinking the same thing myself, and also it would give us the opportunity to have another Skypiea knock-up stream moment of, okay, we have an arc dedicated, not even an arc, an entire series dedicated to, is this possible? The fandom now, back in Jaya, we were like, oh yeah, of course Sky Island's going to exist. Like, this is One Piece. They're asking, but the mystery was there of like, oh, does it really exist? So this entire story has been laying the foundation for, will we ever explore space? Will we ever explore space? And it'd be really cool if when we get to Lodestar, that is like the main thing, where it'll be like a Jaya 2.0 of us being like, is space possible? Luffy's like, absolutely. Let's go. He'll be like, Frankie, take the blueprints. Let's get it. Robin, search up anything in history that could give us any type of detail to this. Nami, get ready to navigate not only through the waters, but through the skies. Like, let's go. And I feel like that would be such a One Piece thing for us to have an adventure that all of us in the community would be like, how is this going to happen? Like, there's no way this could actually happen. And for it to actually take place would be another really cool adventure moment, similar to the knock-up stream, but like times 50.
Man, imagine they figure out what the ancient energy of the One Piece world is, and they add it to the Thousand Sunny, and they do an extreme coup de burst all the way up to the moon,
right
bro.
into space. Yeah,
because that sounds so unrealistic, but that's what Oda does. He does the unrealistic stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And Davon with the 2, appreciate it. Hope Luffy doesn't die. If he does, he dies with a smile.
Yes, please. And we know that if he does die, just like the other D's, he is most certainly going to die with a smile, for sure. No question.
When you think about Blackbeard's performance at Marineford, him taking that Gura blast to the face, we know that he was really scared and he was on the verge of tears. Do you feel like that's a telling sign that he might not be a D?
Man, that is a great point, dude. This goes back to what we were talking about last time, where this is a name he might have placed on himself and not necessarily something he inherited, which I think is a very interesting idea for him to be like a fake D. That could very much you're right. That could be our biggest indication to him actually not being a D. But at the same time, we've seen other characters in that and have like their moment of desperation, but then they'll bounce back from it later. And Blackbeard obviously did bounce back from it. So there's like arguments for both sides. But if that is true and Blackbeard is not a D, then that would have been our first little, like we talked about earlier, with looking back on older panels with different types of different lens. That would be our first, like, oh man, there it was right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, because I've explored the idea of Blackbeard being a fake D before. Definitely not something I would die on the hill for. But
Right.
you know, kind of like what you were saying, given the recent chapters where these people are just throwing the D initial around, like, oh, you're my homie, so you could be a D. It's like, okay, well now there's a legitimate reason. Maybe like Blackbeard's parents heard about the D clan and they're like, damn, well, we're not D clan, but we want to be. So you know what? We're D clan.
Right. Or it could be because remember in the most recent chapter, it was stated specifically that Emu, this D was given to people who are directly opposing Emu and the Celestial Dragons. So this doesn't necessarily have to be something inherited through blood or whatever the case may be. It's just people who are directly opposing them. At least that's the definition we were given in chapter 1085. So if that's the case, Blackbeard, maybe this wasn't even a martial thing. Maybe he's like the first of his kind, where he's just like, nah, I'm going to give myself the D name because I am opposing Emu. If he does know the truth about the name of the D, where he's like, even though I was born with the name Teach, wherever the case may be, I'm going to give myself and put the D in my name, or maybe his parents did that because I know Joe talked earlier about the parents potentially being connected to Robin's parents. And or we talked about it in Dak's stream about the potential connection to Rox's crew. It would be really interesting if either the parents and or Blackbeard donned the D name because they understood the significance of it. And then after that, we found out that they are quote-unquote fake Ds, but they still believed, like, how do I put it? They're fake Ds because they're like recent Ds, where Blackbeard, even though he most certainly potentially is going to be a threat for Emu and them opposing them and stuff of that nature, but maybe that wasn't something that was created 800 years ago. You know, like we just don't know in that regard.
Totally agree. Man, there's so many different directions Oda could. Ooh, it looks like I disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Uh-oh.
Gotta hate when that happens.
It's not only you.
Yeah.
That's weird because I am in this call just fine.
Right.
It might be YouTube. Wasn't Dak having the same issue?
He was having the same issue.
Yeah, it might be like bandwidth with YouTube or something.
Yeah, and I know just in my house, because my brother and I have been dealing with internet issues this week, because he was telling me Spectrum has been going. Do you have Spectrum?
No.
No? Okay, yeah, because he was telling me that Spectrum and Verizon have been having issues all week and outages all around the South. I know you live in Florida, so he was like, there's a bunch of them here in Florida because our internet has been going down constantly this week. So that might be a thing. Who knows? That's causing this, but like you said, it's probably a YouTube thing, not an internet thing.
Narrator with the 10. Thank you again. Just going absolute bonkers. Last on KKL, Luffy's dream is ultimate freedom. There is not freedom in fame. Every pirate coming after him, not all pirates are just going to be cool. Ultimate freedom comes with his fake death.
Yes. I could not agree more if that is the route that we're taking it, because then that would lead. That doesn't only coincide with the Luffy we know of, like him just wanting to go on an adventure. He doesn't really care about being acknowledged by others. That would go so in line with that, but it would also, like you said, give him the ultimate freedom for being able to literally go wherever he pleases, which could lead to an adventure no one else has ever had before, which would be outside the planet Earth, or whatever that he wanted to do. Just since he's quote-unquote dead, now he's truly free. It would give Oda like multiple different ways to play around with that through like an ideological standpoint, thematic standpoint, stuff of that nature. I like that idea.
Totally agree. And Narrator with another 5. Narrator, thank you so much. And I see even more super chats and memberships rolling in from Narrator. He's just going bonkers. Thank you. He said the One Piece world has multiple moons. Imagine all of these moons lining up in the sky with the sun behind them. That's a celestial dragon. Oh my shit.
That's the most factual thing I've ever heard. How did I not put that together? That's crazy.
That's insane. That's so creative. Like all those moons lining up like a damn dragon, bro. That fulfills my headcanon that the celestial dragons are not even from this planet.
Dude, 3, that would explain why they're so adamant on the appointed time. We were too late.
Yes.
Stuff of that nature constantly being brought up in the story. Like
when the moons align.
Waiting for when all of them align.
When the stars align,
so cool.
all that. I can definitely see Oda giving us some kind of dialogue. One of these Gorosei members maybe throwing out that kind of that sentence. That's so cool.
Right. Yo, give me a sec. I've got to mute.
Yeah. No worries. Narrator, you're going crazy, Narrator. Thank you so much, man. Absolute bonkers. 10 memberships, $10, $10, $10, $10, 50, 20, 5. Thank you so much. And everybody else watching the stream. We've been going for like 2.5 hours. We usually do like the 2-hour-long Buster calls, but it's different this time. Got my boy Recon with us. He's been spitting. We had Joe. You guys have been great in the stream chat. Shout out to all of y'all. And the new channel's around the corner. I think the new channel's like only like 10 more days. 10 more days until the new channel, y'all. I'm going to be doing spoiler videos on this channel. And then the new channel is just going to be straight theories and analysis videos. So you guys can expect that from here on out. We're going to be streaming on this one that you're watching the channel from. And we're going to be also dropping spoiler videos. Right? I let's just say, chat, I got with the right people. I got with the right people that have those connections, that get those raws, that get the spoilers. And, you know, we're going to change the game together, y'all. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of great stuff in the works. But Narrator with another 10. Thank you again, you absolute psychopath. Moons control the tides. The orbits getting closer are causing Aqua Laguna to get bigger. The multi-moon eclipse will bring the seas to Marijua. This is why Roger was too early. Bro, I absolutely love the idea of an eclipse. I've said this a bunch, but to anyone that hasn't heard it before, during the One Piece intro, I forgot what season it was in, but they showed us a literal eclipse going in front of the sun, like a moon going in front of the sun and causing darkness in the intro. And you can see the pirates and marine ships even in the water. Again, they created an eclipse, and then during that moment, they explicitly said that the world government has brought darkness upon the world. So the whole concept of an eclipse, both literally and metaphorically, seems very likely to me. And you guys know my take on Imu being the moon. If Imu erased the sun god, took over the light, extinguished the light of the sun god, how much sense does it make for Imu to be the moon? Essentially creating a solar eclipse, bringing darkness into the world, which is why you guys need to buy stocks in Imu being the moon god, moon king, moon princess, champion, whatever you want to call it, the epitome of the moon, similar to how Luffy is the epitome of the sun. So I really like that, Narrator. Thank you so much. And then L with the 2, thank you. Who do you guys want as the next Straw Hat? All right, since you said want, I'm going to give my own personal desire. I want Bonnie to join the crew. I think her fruit is very fun. She's a really good looking character. I love her connection to Kuma because Kuma's an awesome guy. Luffy's been getting around with Bonnie just fine. They've been really funny and cute together when they're eating food, and you know, they're all their little their banter at Egghead together. I really like Bonnie joining the crew. I don't know if Oda's gonna take that route though. Like, I don't know if Oda's gonna take that route because I almost feel like either we're not gonna get any more Straw Hat members, or it's gonna be Vivi rejoining the crew. So that's why I want Bonnie, but it might not be something that I put my money on. But I'm crossing my fingers. I'm a Bonnie enjoyer. I'm a Kuma enjoyer. So I'm here for Bonnie joining the crew if Oda ever makes it happen.
Iruka.
Oh man, dude, I was like, please, I'm making in time to answer this question.
Oh, did you hear what I was saying?
Yeah, I heard the question because like we talked about yesterday, I most certainly agree with how cool the possibility would be for Bonnie to join. I think it would be so cool, and it would fit multiple different reasons. Already has like a Straw Hat level potential backstory that could be explored there. Abilities really cool, interactions and dynamics are really cool. So I'm down with that, honestly. Like you said earlier, hinting into Vivi and certain characters that we know are going to come back. I'm a massive Yamato fan, so I really hope that Mycopium comes into display here, and whenever we end the series, and we get our Straw Hats that are Straw Hats like Vivi, Yamato, Momonosuke. Like these are 100% characters that are going to be on our ship. Well, on our ship slash because the when I say Straw Hat, I mean like characters that were on the ship for a really long time, or slash are going to, like, whenever we make our final journey around, characters like Laboon that are going to be joining us, but maybe they might not be on the ship itself, stuff of that nature. But what I really like about the potential possibilities of all these characters joining is whenever we get to the large scale battle at the end of the series, where we're going to need characters from all different types of places to go in and present their abilities, their battle power, their battle prowess, whatever that is. The most exciting thing for me is the fact that Luffy end of series is going to be able to say, I have the Queen of Alabasta with me. I have the Child of Kaido, and I have the Shogun of Wano. And then if we want to throw in the Bonnie connection, Luffy and his crew is going to have 3 members. 3 of the worst generation, and then a Shishibukai. It's like, brother, you're cooking too hard, man. You're cooking too hard, bro. Like
a whole Grand Fleet.
His alliance, his Grand Fleet end of series is going to be so special. I call Law Straw Hat too, but Law isn't the same thing as Momonosuke, where it's just because they were with the crew for so long that I just see them as Straw Hats. But I genuinely see Vivi and Yamato as Straw Hats. Where, like, by the time the series comes to a close, I most certainly see them as being a part of the journey.
So you would pretty much put a 100% chance of Vivi hopping back on the ship?
I would put a 100 on Vivi for sure. Yamato's the one that I'm like 90, 95. That it's going to be Yamato come back on the ship. I think Vivi's 100, like 50% of for sure. At some point in time in the series, Vivi is going to become a member of the Straw Hat crew as still the Queen of Alabasta. It'll be similar to the beginning of the series where, for her country, she joined the Straw Hats to go on the expedition back to Alabasta. This one more so is going to be going on an expedition with the Straw Hats to ensure the rest of the planet is going to be in good hands, considering all this stuff happening with Emu and like that. So Vivi for sure is going to join again.
Yeah,
just don't
man.
know when.
I can see even right now Vivi possibly like, man, I can't go back to Alabasta. My queen or my father's dead. Like, I need to go to Luffy because like she doesn't have that many options right now.
Yep. Yeah. Right now she is. Like you said, stuck between several different things that there's only one crew could get her out of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you know what?
That's of course ours.
That also brings back Koza. Maybe Koza can hold it down in Alabasta for a little bit while Vivi gets back with the Straw Hats.
Absolutely, and that would actually pay off that entire storyline they have right there. Absolutely, I'm down for that.
L with the 5, thank you. Is Sanji a Seraphim prototype?
I've heard that so much. I've heard that for both Sanji and for Weevil. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the same type of thought process was put into both. I'm not sure if they were Seraphim prototypes, but the same type of concept was definitely applied to both Weevil and Sanji in their quote-unquote creation process, for sure.
Yeah, this man Weevil was definitely some kind of lab experiment. I almost feel like he was a failed clone of Whitebeard. Maybe even a combination of people. Because when you have that panel of them saying that Stussy is the first successful clone, like, come on, like, this is Oda. Successful clone?
Yes.
There's probably failed clones.
Right, and that failed clone, because we already know another character within the Rock's crew in Whitebeard, if they had multiple of them they were trying to clone, who wouldn't want to clone Whitebeard?
Yeah,
like, if
that's
you had
a monster.
the possibility of doing so, that's a monster, man.
Hell yeah. Do you like Weevil?
Bonnie dies.
I love the idea of Weevil because I'm a massive Dragon Ball fan. So he reminds me so much of Majin Buu. So when I first saw Weevil and Miss Buckin as Bobbity, I was like, oh man, I love this. Similar to like the Hercule Buggy thing I've always loved. I was like, man, if we can have more, I'm telling you, Buggy and Hercule, man, it is literally 1-to-1. Except Buggy's definitely the better one, but. In regards to Weevil, I just don't know what Oda's going to have in store for him from a storytelling standpoint, because obviously we already see Green Bull has captured him, and we don't know where that's going to lead to. But as far as the concept goes, a failed Whitebeard clone potentially, being Whitebeard's son, connected to the Rock's pirates, this super swole, Boo-looking creature. I love the idea. I just got to see the way it's executed.
I'm thinking that maybe Oda had Weevil get captured. That way he's thrown an impel down with another warlord known as Doflamingo, and boom, cross-skilled to impel down, have that whole squad of warlords right there.
Dude, Crossskill's gonna be the most OP crew of all time. That's crazy.
If they grab Dofi and Weevil, they are broken, man.
They are broken, bro. They are broken. Man, Mihawk, Dofi, Brock, that's filthy.
That's a nasty squad, dude. And it's kind of funny because it like almost came out of nowhere, right? Like the cross skill thing was like pretty quick. Like
yeah.
And then Narrator with the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Narrator. You're still going crazy with these supers and everything. Thank you, my man. Followed by another $10 from Narrator. If Laughtail is Long Ring Longland, the tide would be much lower there. Between Long Ring and Marijois is Water 7, which is a shipyard. Iceberg is turning into a floating island, perfect for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet.
Vivi meets up with Luffy.
That's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, true that, man.
Where do you feel like? Okay, I'll ask you this, and then you can answer it for the chat because I need to pee again. But do you mind letting the chat know where you think Laughtail's at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, all right, chat. Let's go ahead and take a few things here for Laughtail. Because there's a lot of really, really cool ideas, man. And I wish I could look at the chat to discuss this with y'all, but I'm driving. But I'll look at the chat in spirit. The thing about Laughtail is it's got to be somewhere that's like both in plain sight and that almost seems like it's inexplorable. Which is why I've always loved the idea of it being, behind Reverse Mountain or like inside of Reverse Mountain. I've always loved that idea. The idea that it's on the moon is something I've always loved. The idea that it's somewhere that has yet to be explored within our planet, like in reality, something like, I don't know, the Earth's core or whatever it is. It has to be somewhere that has not been explored yet, or an island that, due to some sort of thing like what happened with Punk Hazard. Right, like Punk Hazard, of course, half fire, half ice, was turned into that, what was left of it, thanks to their awakenings, I believe. We could be running into a similar scenario where somebody's ability caused Laughtail to be in the obscure location that it is in. Unless it is on the moon or something, then that's just due to the adventure. But let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right, that this thing has been placed inside of, I don't know, let's just have fun with it, say that like someone has what Shiryu has right now, which is the invisibility fruit. And with the invisibility fruit and being able to turn other things invisible if it awakens, whatever, we're able to place this in plain sight, but no one can see it unless they have like either the voice of all things or observation hockey to the max, whatever the case may be. That type of stuff needs to be. I feel like it's probably going to be explored as well. That's just a hypothetical example, by the way. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think using what we've learned so far through the course of the story, I feel like all of the islands are going to be leading into the laugh tale truth of, for example, how Onigashima really is the head of the original Oars. Let's just say we look back at Whiskey Peak with like the tombstones. All of them have these little histories that lead into a bigger picture. And Laugh Tale, of course, being the final island, we're gonna have a bunch of different clues throughout the course of the story to tell us. Like it feels like the ultimate culmination of Luffy's journey in regards to he's gonna be able to pull from Punk Hazard, Skypiea, all of these things. The crew will be putting their mind together as they attempt to figure out how to get to this place. And the adventure and the journey itself is going to allow them to get there, which means that we're either going to find something that was altered through a fruit, which is why no one's been able to find it because it is in some sort of obscure location, like we talked about earlier, or it's going to be in a place that looks like it cannot be explored, such as the moon and or the Earth's core, or something that's like in plain sight, which is why, like I said, I love the idea of being hidden in Reverse Mountain. But 3, if you're back, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on that.
I really, I have a video on this. I really adore the idea of I like the idea of Laugh Tale being at the core, the center of the earth. This would connect to the original story from like many decades ago, Journey to the Center of the Earth. And if you look at the overall structure of that story, it's somewhat similar to One Piece. We also don't have that many arcs or really any instances where Luffy and his crew are like expeditionists, where they're kind of like Indiana Jones, kind of going in like the earth or in the cave kind of environment. Yeah. He hasn't really explored that yet.
That's a good point.
And then another thing is with the 4 road poneglyphs, this has been proven true in real life. You can get 3 coordinates to pinpoint an exact location on a map. If you were to use I forgot what the thing's called. There's a name for it. Some type of like math equation. Anyways, you could use 3 coordinates to pinpoint another location or at least a range. So I feel like the 4th road poneglyph would be a coordinate that lets you determine depth, and that could probably lead to how you would have to go to a certain depth in the ocean or in the world, and that would lead towards the center of the earth. And I think if that was even beneath, maybe if you had to access it from Reverse Mountain, that'd be really poetic. Right. It'd be really cool.
Agreed.
Yeah, it goes a bit deeper than that, but that's my TLDR for it.
I love it because I've always loved the idea that it's in plain sight, right? And certain things that are in plain sight are the moon, the core of the earth, these things that, like we talked about earlier with the knock-up stream, they seem like it's impossible. And that's where One Piece shines, where it makes the impossible possible. I mean, how many of us are going to be like, yeah, man, let's go explore the core of the earth today? And if the treasure really, because remember, this is a series that is based on a bunch of lies. So look at our history, right? None of us would ever attempt to explore the Earth because we understand it's harder than anything on the planet down there. But in the One Piece world, what about if that was a lie that was fed to keep people away from there, right? Where they told people in the One Piece world, the core of the Earth is the hottest thing ever. Don't even attempt to get close to it. People like Roger and Luffy won't give a flying flag nerds. But the normal person will be like, oh, no, we're not going there. But if in the One Piece world that's a lie, or maybe it's true, and Frankie and them have to come up with a coding on the ship to get them to the core of the Earth, or it was just used as a detractor to keep people from the One Piece, which is at the center of the planet. I think either way, it's very One Piece for it to be in the core of the Earth. So I like that idea a lot.
Yep, I totally agree. All these islands are fantastical. They sound ridiculous, and I think like that's gonna be a very key point to Laugh Tale. And one last thing I'll toss in is like, entering the Grand Line, we saw Crocus on his island that was inside of a whale. If you could have an island inside of a whale in One Piece, I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that there's an island in the center of the earth. And maybe Enies Lobby's hole is some kind of clue.
I'll never forget when I first saw that theory about the Enies Lobby hole, and I was just it hit me extremely hard because if that's true, the Going Merry took them to the One Piece.
Yep, that's just wild, man.
And that's why it hits so hard, and why I love that idea so much, because the Going Merry technically finished the journey with them, if that is true.
All right, so it looks like we've been over an hour from, you know, our original schedule, and we still have quite a bit super chats left. I don't know if you want to keep rolling.
I'll probably be here for like 5 or 10 more minutes. I'm about to get to where I have to get to, but whenever I get there, I'll give my sign off.
All right, no worries. I really appreciate you staying extra.
Oh no, absolutely, dude. It's been a blast.
All right, let's see. Then we got Splash with the 10. Thank you so much, my man. They go to space, and what if Luffy and NL cross paths again? Also, glad I was able to catch your stream. You're killing it. Perfect way to knock out this road trip I'm doing right now.
Hey, me too. I'm doing the same thing.
Road trip, boys.
Yes, sir. But nah, dude. As a massive NL fan, a massive Skypiea fan, anything that brings him back into the story would be lovely. But for that to be our reintroduction to him, or to find him up in space, because the thing I've always thought about Skypiea is its focus on dreams, what treasure is to certain people, how they explore that, and NL is the only villain who accomplishes dream after being defeated, and it goes in line with the themes of Skypiea and Jaya, and so for Luffy to go up there and see that this guy that he'd already defeated accomplished his dream, I wonder how that interaction would go between the two characters. Obviously, NL knows he can't hurt Luffy, so he would kind of be at a like, oh man, what am I going to do with this guy? But it would be.
Oh, he might have lagged out. Oh, wait a second. I think our boy, Recon lagged out. I definitely feel like
cool to see that
you're
they
back.
asked. So for Luffy and NL to have a conversation about the moon, or for NL and Robin to have a conversation about the moon.
Oh, I think that boy's cutting in and out, dude. It's always Emu, man. It's always Emu knocking my homies offline, yo. I definitely agree though, like Luffy and NL crossing paths, like come on, like most of these major antagonists that we see throughout the story are being reintroduced in some kind of way, whether it's like Doflamingo being thrown and impelled down, we could go on all day, really. I don't have to sit here and list them all. Crocodile, like NL having like I guess the whole he had a whole saga technically, right? The Skypiea saga. For him to not return seems, that would be really weird to me. Yeah, and like I have a video talking about how electricity might be the ancient energy source of the One Piece world. I feel like using NL to reveal that would be very, very fun for Robot on Egghead. That was labeled as a robotic soldier, a mechanical soldier. It was the same phrasing. You even look at the Armadas on the moon, they all have warrior outfits. One looked like an American soldier, one looked like a Japanese soldier, one looked like a Russian soldier. They're all mechanical soldiers, just like what they for everybody. Successfully connected. Yo, is Emu just going for everybody? Are we back? Because they were trying to get Dak. They've been trying to get Recon. Trying to get me. Are we back? Yo. What's up with YouTube, man?
Yo. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I completely lagged out, so it wasn't just you. It was me too.
Oh, dude.
Emu, man. It's always when
Yo,
we're
I'm
spitting
telling
heavy.
you, Emu. Ever since that Godos, every single time, and especially after that Godosei chapter, they're on a mission. They're on a mission.
It's just gonna get worse, bro. Imagine when we get into the Laugh Tale arc.
Do you think anyone
Right,
in this
everybody's gonna be knocked out.
All right. Did you want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more, and then I'll sign off.
All
It
right.
looks like my internet's pretty bad over here.
All right. Mr. Bushido with the 2, thank you. He said the One Piece will be a beetle. Theory coming soon.
A beetle. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because there's this one panel.
Tell me more, Bushido.
There's like this one panel where Chopper said something along the lines of like the coolest, greatest treasure in the world, something like that, and then Luffy said no, a beetle's better, or a beetle's like the greatest treasure. It was something along the lines of that. I don't remember what was said exactly though. If Mr. Bushido can enlighten us, that'd be cool.
That's great. It's a big talking beetle. That would be crazy.
Oh, I found it.
That'd be wild.
So Luffy's holding a beetle and he says, look, this is in the manga. Look, Chopper, an Atlas beetle. An Atlas, that's right. An Atlas and Hercules beetle are every child's dream in this world. Then what's greater than an Atlas beetle or One Piece? Hard to say.
Interesting. I forgot about that conversation.
Yeah, that it seems really telling, you know, just given that they're literally using the phrase One Piece, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like the idea of the One Piece being a Statue of Liberty, or the what was it called? The road of we were talking about it on Dax stream. The road.
Yeah, the one we were talking about yesterday. I forgot the name of it. It's man, what was it called?
The road, the crossroads, or something like that. It was a statue that held the same exact weapons as Nika, and I think the Statue of Liberty might have even been based Colossus. Yeah, I really like that.
Yep, that's the one. Yep.
But the Beatles are a really fun idea too. You know, just given that panel, I'm gonna send it to you just so you know about it.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll look at it whenever I get to where I'm getting to.
Yes, sir. All right, are you ready to just sign out here?
Yeah, because I'm about to get to a point where my internet might be even worse than it is. So.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah, man. You know, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun. It was awesome talking to you again. The biggest of all shout outs to the chat, man. The chat brought some fire questions for us to explore today. So very, very exciting stuff. 3 and I actually will be together once again very soon. We won't say how soon because we can't talk about it, but we'll be together to talk about greatness very, very soon for the One Piece greatness. But until that time comes, nothing but love to the 3-Eyed Tribe. You guys are goated. And of course, 3 man, very much looking forward to next time we're able to discuss the One Piece greatness, man. It was a great one.
Of course. And like he said, very, very soon, we're not going to go deep on that, but just expect some greatness to arrive soon. Where can people find you, man?
So over on YouTube at King_Recon, we're always talking about that One Piece greatness over there. Very excited for what's to come here in the next week or so, heading into, of course, the return of the series. Volume 103 comes out next week, which contains some of my favorite stuff in the entire series. So very much looking forward to unboxing that and getting to all that stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun next week and our last week before the series returns, which is going to be the week after. And then I'm very active as well over on Twitter, mainly for the video game stuff. So if you're into any of those types of things, definitely follow me over there at Yoshida Shoyo over on Twitter. But those are the 2 main places where I'm at nowadays.
All right, awesome. Again, man, thank you so much for your amazing energy. I greatly appreciate it, and I can't wait to make some more content with you again soon, man.
Absolutely, brother. Take care, and thanks so much for the kind words. And like I told you at the beginning of the stream, and in Dak's stream, you are one of the individuals that gets brought up the most within my streams, and that's how I know that you be cooking, my man. So stay cooking and continue to create greatness. While I was cutting in and out earlier, I heard you talking about your second channel like you did back with Dax. So hopefully nothing but the best to both of your channels and the best of successes to you, my brother. I will see you. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, man. Take it easy.
Absolutely, bro.
All right, chat. You guys were absolutely amazing today. I don't want to end the stream until I finish these supers. So I might have to speed run some of these. All right, I hope y'all understand, because if not, we're gonna just be here all day, bro. I literally have like another 12 super chats. So chat, we're gonna do our thing real quick. All right. Mr. Bushido with the 5. Thank you. He said, Bonnie dies, Carrot gets her fruit. Carrot is connected to the moon rabbit and Salvador Dali clock painting. Also, I am positive Yamato dies. I could see Yamato dying for Momo. I think that'd be very beautiful and poetic, being that Momo is the shogun of Wano. Her dying for Momo is in a way protecting Wano. And then also just her, wanting to be Odin, her admiration for Odin makes a lot of sense to have her die for the son of Odin. So I could definitely see a case where Yamato dies, especially, for Momo or Hiyori. But dude, I don't know, man. Bonnie dying, you already know, Bushido, I talked to you about that. Bonnie dying would just be so heartbreaking. Like, I love Bonnie. She's so sweet. She's nice to look at. She has a cool devil fruit. She gets along with Luffy. All I'm gonna say, Bushido, is if Carrot joins the crew, or if Carrot gets Bonnie's fruit, or any of these theories you have regarding Carrot, if they come true, Mr. Bushido, I will 1,000,000% give you your flowers, all right? It doesn't even matter if I agree or disagree. You're gonna get your flowers, Mr. Bushido. And I'm pretty sure Dak said the same exact thing earlier. Dak was like, yo, if Mr. Bushido's getting these Carrot theories right, we need to dedicate a whole stream to Mr. Bushido. Cause you really hold it down, bro. This man narrator just said stream never ending then. No. All right, I'm gonna have to speed run because even that question I just spent a minute explaining. Sosa with the 5, thank you. VV meets up with Luffy at Laboon's lighthouse because Morgans wants an interview with Luffy after he finds the One Piece. I love the concept of Morgans interviewing Luffy after the One Piece, or even Morgans going to Laugh Tale. I want like this legendary island that no one's ever seen before, that no one has ever traveled to before, aside from Luffy or Roger, to be exposed to the world. Like, it kind of ties into what we saw during Marineford. They didn't want to release what they were doing to the world. They didn't want the public to see certain things. And you still had Buggy to turn on the camera and show the whole world what was really going on. I could see Oda doing the same kind of thing for an island like Laugh Tale, or even for a treasure like the One Piece. I really like that concept. And then L with the 2, thank you so much, man. Where do you think Law ends up? I think Law is going to join Cross Guild. I actually have a video on that on this channel. You should go check it out. We know that Cross Guild's like recruiting all these warlords, or at least narratively they're recruiting warlords. He's not gonna give up on his dream. I think that would be insane. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, if Law lost his ship and lost his crew, yeah, that's gonna hurt him. Yeah, he's not gonna be a fan of that. But I don't think that's gonna make Law be like, you know what, Corazon, fuck you. I don't care about the checkered fate anymore. Like, I really don't see that happening. So Law needs some kind of way to get around the world. He needs some kind of teammate. He has to get to Laugh Tale. He has to go after the checkered fate. So I think the most likely way for him to pull that off is by him joining Cross Guild. Not only that, but Empty Bluffs, I might have to double check this, so don't quote me on this. I think Empty Bluffs might be near Winter Island. And then L with the 5, thank you, bro. He said, why do the Pirates still feel stronger than the Marines in numbers? Do you think the Marines will get more people siding with them? Maybe some pirates? Well, we got the Holy Knights. I think a large piece of the final war is that the enemy side, the world government and the Marines, they're going to have super, super strong powerhouses. Like, sure, they're going to have a whole bunch of fodder because of the whole Marine organization, but it's going to be hard for the pirates to take down the admirals, to take down Garling, the Gorosei, all the other Holy Knights. Maybe they even utilize Magellan. They just say F it and throw Magellan onto the battlefield. All of Cypher Pole. Emu. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult battle. And I think Oda's going to illustrate the final war in such a way to where it seems like Luffy has no chance of winning, because that's how it's always done. When you see Luffy finally interacting with Kaido for the first time, Thunder Bagua, completely one-shotted, dead in the dirt. And us as fans were like, bro, Luffy really just got one-tapped? Are you serious? So Oda's going to do the same kind of thing with the final war. Sure, Luffy has a grand fleet and all these friends, but he's going to make it seem like this obstacle is impossible to overcome. And I think that's part of the reason Oda showed us the Holy Knights. You also have Mogadishu with the DKK 17. I don't know what that is, but Mogadishu, thank you so much. Imu might have the Hito Hito no Mimaro Nyx. That is a goddess deity of the night, I believe, in Greek theology. I've heard about that theory many, many, many times. But yeah, you guys know my stance. I feel like Imu aligns with the night a lot, being that Luffy aligns with the dawn. Luffy being the sun makes a lot of sense for Imu to be the moon. There's a lot of really simple connections you can make between Nyx from Greek theology and Imu from One Piece. Yeah, I mean, you have the NL cover story where they said on the hieroglyphics, lacking natural resources, they flew down to the blue planet. So again, Imu being from the moon, Imu being affiliated with night, the dusk, space, like, it feels very heavily alluded to at this point. And then Mr. Bushido with the 2, thank you, man. You're just consistently supporting, man. Will live action do a take on We Are? I hope if they do it, that they don't mess it up, because I absolutely love We Are. I skip the anime intros when I watch anime, but I absolutely love that song in particular. I really love that theme. Every once in a while, I'll go on YouTube and just listen to We Are, because it's just such an amazing soundtrack. It fits One Piece and it just makes me feel good inside, bro. So if the live action uses We Are, I just hope they don't ruin it. Please do it in a really good way that, you know, that I can enjoy, because I don't want something that I hold dear to me. Maybe it won't be ruined if they do it bad, but I don't want it, you know, I don't want like a bad version of it coming out. But that's just me. Then we have Anthony with the 2. Thank you, my boy. Do you think anyone in the Straw Hat crew will die? I feel like if the Straw Hat crew members die, it has to be post-final war. When we talk about Luffy, you know, one of the biggest pieces of his character is his final dream, something beyond the idea of becoming the Pirate King. I feel like every single Straw Hat needs to see Luffy complete this dream. I feel like it would be very weird and it would rub me the wrong way inside if Usopp didn't see Luffy achieve his final dream. If Zoro didn't see it, if Jinbei didn't see it. You know, if we can wipe our hands clean and Luffy gets to Laugh Tale, finds the One Piece, defeats Emu and gets his final dream, then sure, start killing off the Straw Hats. I particularly would like I would like to see Jinbei die for Luffy. You know, given the whole incident during Fishman Island of, you know, giving him blood, you know, his dedication to Luffy. I feel like Jinbei doesn't have that much to serve from here on out. I feel like Jinbei might be a good candidate for dying for Luffy. And then especially in Marineford, where Jinbei took the fucking punch blast through his chest for Luffy. I feel like he would probably be the first one to die. Following that, probably Zoro. And then following that, probably Usopp. But I really want to see Usopp reunite with Kaya, and I want to see Usopp tell Kaya all about these stories that he actually had. Because when we were introduced to Usopp, what was it? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. I have this adventure. All these lies. How beautiful and poetic would it be for Usopp to reunite with Kaya towards the end of the story and tell her all the real stories that he experienced, what he did at Dressrosa, how he made it to Laugh Tale, how he found the One Piece, how he fought against Emu. I would love to see that for Usopp and Kaya. And then narrator, of course, with the 2 said stream never ending then. Hey, I'm speedrunning this hoe. Thank you, narrator. And L said One Piece Loki has lame opening songs. Yo, chat. Do you agree with that? He said One Piece Loki has lame opening songs. Hey, I think you're gonna piss off a lot of people with that. I like We Are. There's like 2 or 3 other songs that are pretty cool, but I wouldn't say that One Piece has lame songs because some of them are really good, man. I feel like that might be a hot take. That might be a hot take. But thank you, Al. And then he super chatted again. Thank you. Have you heard Uzi's Pink Tape already? Bro, of course. You don't think I listen to Lil Uzi Pink Tape? Bro, for as much as I like Uzi, Cardi, rap, Destroy Lonely, Ken, all this, you don't think I already listened to Pink Tape? Bro, last night or yesterday, I was waiting all day for that album to drop. On God, I was, bro, because I found Lil Uzi 2015, bro. Like I could prove it because in 2015, y'all, I used to play a lot of Rocket League. Some of you guys know Rocket League, that one game where you're a little toy car and you play soccer as the toy car. I used to play a lot of Rocket League, and when I would make montages for Rocket League, I would use Lil Uzi songs from 2015, 2016, a long time ago at this point. So I've been listening to Uzi, watching him grow as an artist, bro, and I would try to put people on to Uzi at that time. Nobody knew who he was, of course, and I'd be like, yo, this dude's gonna blow up, this dude's gonna be huge. And like I just watched Uzi grow and grow and grow and grow. He dropped that mixtape with Gucci, the Perfect Love tape, Lil Uzi Vert versus the World. I got to witness greatness. I was there way before Eternal Take. Like, and for him to drop Pink Tape, I will tell you, as an OG Uzi fan, OG, right? I will tell you that Pink Tape is his best project, period. And I like, typically when you see rap fans, bro, you guys know how rap fans are. They feel really fucking elitist, and they're like, oh, the OG music that this rapper used to make is so much better than their new music. I like the OG Lil Uzi. I like the OG Travis Scott. I like the OG Playboi Carti. You guys hear that shit all the time. But as an OG, Pink Tape is his best album. That album was fucking amazing, man. So many songs I loved on there, bro. Werewolf, that song is amazing. Fire Alarm, that song goes crazy. Bro, imagine being at a Lil Uzi concert and listening to Fire Alarm. Oh my God, the mosh pits would be crazy. I'm just gonna go off on a whole 2-hour long tangent. Let me stop it here. No more Lil Uzi talk, because I could literally go on for hours, bro. And then narrator with the 10. This is gonna be the last super chat of the day, y'all. Thank you so much, narrator. 4Kids dub One Piece rap slaps changed my mind. I can't change your mind because I agree, bro. The 4Kids dub One Piece rap. I'm pretty sure most One Piece fans fuck with it. Most One Piece fans like it. I've never seen anyone hate on it. Like, there's no reason they hate on it. It's a good song, bro. It's a vibe. Don't give it up, Zoro, Nami. Don't give it up, Nami. Usopp. Yeah, I like it, bro. It's a good song. I probably like We Are more than it, because We Are is a chef's kiss, spectacular song. But after We Are, it's probably the 4Kids rap.
Goatville, Fire Stream.
Goatville, Fire Stream. Thank you, my boy. Chat, we made it. All super chats have been read. All super chats have been read. So chat, it is about that time. Thank you guys so much. I love y'all. Y'all are amazing. I have some of the best supporters on planet Earth. I'm so grateful for you guys. If you guys want to hang out with me, I'm probably going to join the VCs on my Discord server in a little bit. The link is at the top of the stream chat. Anyone's free to join the server. You guys are free to join the voice channels. People always ask me, they're like, yo, Evo, I see you in the general chat. Am I allowed to join? Bro, yes, y'all can join. I'm not Hollywood. I don't bite. Y'all can join the VCs and hang out with me. Send me your, or shoot me your theories in VC. Watch movie nights with us, all types of shit. But yeah, this was a very, very, very fun stream. Thank you massively to people like Narrator and Mr. Bushido, who just went absolute bonkers with the memberships and super chats. Thank you so much, Narrator, Mr. Bushido, everybody, L, Anthony, Mogadishu, Sosa, Hamaji, Samurai, everybody. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, new channel on the 10th. July 10th. New channel. That's gonna be the day of the spoilers for 1087. So
stream before you go.
Yeah, thank you, Ronnie. Thank you. Like the stream before you guys go. Chat, it doesn't cost you. Don't give me that bullshit. Don't give me that bullshit. Don't try to tell me, oh, I don't want to like the stream. It's too much work. Nah, motherfucker. Hit the like button. Like the stream, bro. But yeah, chat. Y'all are amazing. My next stream will be relatively soon. I'll find an excuse to stream. Whether we do a tier list or we do rate your theories, I'll find an excuse to stream. It might be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. But we will be streaming again, so turn on notifications. And I think that's it. I love y'all. Have a wonderful morning, day, or night wherever you guys are. Stay safe. Have your head up. Destroy all obstacles in your way. Control your mind. Think positively. Keep your vibration high. Go get some exercise. Go get some sunlight. Go eat some good food. Take care of yourselves, guys. If you are a fan of me, if you guys support me, if you guys want to help me, help yourself. That's what I want you guys to do. But we signing out.